If you want to, you can go sit at my skeleton farm and we can double AFK this.
Sure. Once I
Alright.
stop flying in the sky for some reason.
And we begin. Hello and welcome all who have joined and all who are watching the VOD back at home. It's been, God, I think a month now since our last episode, at least. We've had a lot of, let's call it technical issues as of recent. So, due to things that have been going on and busyness of schedules, we were on a bit of delay, which just gave me, the DM, more time to plan things, to my party's dismay here. Last time we left off, the party had accepted a quest by a Lord Michael of the, I can't remember which house off the top of my head, to go and gather a stone sword from the capital to prove that he is the one and true king. The party agreed, in air quotes, and then immediately turned around and left. Quote, and I quote, stating, "We may do it eventually." Thus, we're not lying to him, and headed in their airship, known as the Gall Slayer, all the way to the pirate haven. Having arrived there after about a few days' travel, the party was immediately shot upon by a couple of the ship cannons from below in the water, as they found one of the abandoned islands with a full pirate cove hidden inside of a cave. And immediately they were attacked as they showed up. Because when you show up in a flying ship coming from the direction of one of the most powerful nations in the world, tensions become very high, unfortunately, and no one truly thought to expect that. And thus we come back, as the party can hear cannons being fired and cannonballs making large and loud splashes as they fall short from coming anywhere close to the airship. What would you like to do?
Freya's gonna look at Tikva and be like, Parlay?
That's the plan. If I can contact them before they crash the ship.
Don't tieflings have that thing that allows them to make their voice loud?
Yes, but I'm afraid they still have to agree to the parlay.
Anyone calling parley with pirates, normally it's honored and then talks of peace ensue. Parley's only broken if one side attacks. So let's hope one side doesn't attack. Of course, that dishonors all pirates when they do that, so...
I didn't imagine pirates to be the honorable type, but we'll give it a shot, I guess.
That's a fair point. All right. So what would you like to do, Tikva?
Okay, so if I'm getting my turn here, Tikva's gonna, of course, approach the edge of the ship. To look down, and she'll, of course, use thaumaturgy. So her voice will, of course, boom up to 3 times, as loud as normal. And she will call out, "Halt your fire! We are here for peace. I am the cousin of an ally to Captain Ricard Bennett, and we would like to discuss the terms of a potential alliance among our groups."
Okay.
Wait for a response.
Give me a persuasion check, please.
Oh yeah, baby. I should be good at this. Where'd my dice go? I should be good at this. If I get a low roll, I'm gonna cry.
And we will die.
Yes. Or fly away.
Ba-dum-bum. Comedy.
Comedy, alright. Oh. Let's add this up. I gotta find my bonus. 29 total.
Alright, you see as you're looking about with anybody with a passive perception above 12 as a white flag starts being hoisted up from the main ship that was shooting at you.
Okay. The airship doesn't have flags, right?
It does not.
Is there any white sheets that we can just hang over the side?
That's what I was thinking.
Many of the beds would have them.
Hang me by the mast, boy.
Kips, you could theoretically hang kips, yes. I would recommend not by the throat, but that is an option.
No.
I hoist Kip's by his feet up the mast.
Brilliant.
Give me a strength
No,
check.
no, don't. Oh my god, I have
And
something
Kips,
I
do
can
you
do.
choose to resist or do you accept
Of
this?
course not.
Okay.
Oh my god.
How's an 18 sound?
Kips, how much do you weigh?
Oh, let me look at that real quick because I'm not
Oh my
entirely.
god. With
I don't,
equipment,
with equipment.
I'd
Let's
assume.
see. Weight carried
265.
146 pounds, and my actual weight is 265 pounds.
Wow.
What's your carrying capacity, Freya?
My carrying capacity, I'm
God.
currently at 70 pounds. I don't know what my carrying capacity is. My carrying capacity is 300 pounds.
So
He's over that, but my push, pull, drag, or lift capacity is 600. And since I'm technically using a lanyard to lift him, he'd be half that weight.
As you go to drag him up, he's heavy. He's by no means light in his full gear. But you manage to drag him up, watching as a few lemons fall out of his bag, and smash on the deck. And
collect the lemons.
He doesn't bellow in the wind at all. He basically just hangs from your hands.
Oh god.
But the pirates seem to get the message. A little confused, but they seem to get it as they await for you guys to come and join.
Tikva's gonna look at them like with the most dumb expression, and she's gonna, with thaumaturgy, produce a white flame in her hand and just look at them and tap her foot with like a hand on her hips and be like, just
Freya's
looking
gonna
at
slowly help Kips down and shrug and say, "This is what they taught me on merchant ships."
I have high doubts, but again, I don't know where you are from, so.
Then again, most of
maybe
those
that's a
ships were
cultural
involved
thing.
with slaving.
Yeah, and that sounds like a torture method, not
It kept the
parlay.
pirates. It made the pirates happy, so they left them alone. So I thought it'd work. It worked. We're fine.
Anton, as the one who's flying the ship, you begin to
Yep.
descend after watching this entire fiasco.
Yes, I do.
All right.
I will actually put it down into the water.
Okay. As it slowly drifts down, eventually coming down to the water, you see a bunch of ships now in this massive cave that seems to sparkle left and right of what you can see looks to be silver and gold piles almost everywhere, in different nooks and crannies. You also see almost a full town of different kind of shabby buildings put together from what looks to be old broken ships. And as you begin to sail in, can you give me a performance check at advantage, please? As you start to see large rocks pointing out, it looks like this is a very difficult area to maneuver in.
17. I think I forgot to put it to the channel.
That works. I can see your thing. So, all right, that works. So as you manage to get through, you
it did come in.
Dodge and weave through the different rocks with little to no issue. And as you guys begin coming in, you start to notice there are people of all different races. You see gnomes, dwarves, dragonborn. You even catch a couple of Air Cochrane. This is a very hodgepodged area.
I thought the Air Cochrane went extinct.
Yeah.
Of different species. You even see goblins and hobgoblins there, surprisingly. You do recognize a few of the larger ships as you continue sailing in, as you realize that this massive kind of enclave is even bigger than what you saw from the outside as it continues down through the entire island. And there, you roughly count as you continue down, finding a spot, about 75 ships, full war galleon sized. Which the Gall Slayer is slightly smaller in comparison. Let me just pull
the
this
Gall
up.
Slayer also doesn't have to carry 15 cannons.
Most of these war galleons you count have way more. No worries. And so as you guys continue down, eventually one of the pirate captains kind of waves you down to bring the ship and park it in an area. Realizing that the anchor is slightly smaller than the other ships, it takes a little bit to get a good hold on everything, as this anchor isn't really designed to stabilize a ship in the water, but rather stabilize a ship floating. And is more like a giant paperweight.
Free falling.
As your ship comes to a stop, you see there are even more species and different peoples all around, as many come walking about in different wear, different looks. Some races that you've never even seen. You see tieflings, dwarves, ancient. You even see a couple snow dwarves that some of you recognize almost immediately as being a bit more unique. And you even see at one occasion what looks to be a giant with purple skin sitting on top of what looks to be a small house.
Frey will be keeping her head down and staying close to the group.
Okay. As
This brings back bad memories.
As you begin to disembark, one of the pirates, what looks to be a small gnomish man, kind of starts waving you towards him, and you notice that he on his jacket seems to bear the mark of what looks to be a goose head with two swords crossing behind it, and a crown sitting upon its head, as his sort of Jolly Roger. And he just kind of continues waving you towards him, bringing you towards what looks to be a very large and open space where you see a very large pile of gold that would make most dragons envious.
I think
Yes.
Tikva would probably step forward since she's the queen and was the one who called Parlay.
Okay.
As we're getting off the boat,
Mhm.
I don't know if you could hear that sound effect. I did the car lock chirp.
Beep beep.
The Gaul Slayer suddenly completely stops moving and is perfectly still and stuck. As one of the pirates goes to kind of look on board and kind of climb on, you notice that it kind of bumps into some invisible wall and gets and shoves back. And he looks very confused by the situation as the ship beeps at him.
Makes a goose
Car
honking
alarm goes
noise.
off.
All right. As you guys begin to walk further in, you see that the gold pile seems to go kind of split as you begin walking through, and going further and further in. This is a massive cave that's very well decorated. The walls seem to have been carved by master masons. You see different designs drawn or carved in with showing off different events that have happened in the past. Some you recognize, some you don't. At one point, Tikva, you recognize that one of the pillars depicts the tieflings getting cut down by what looks to be some sort of white elf made of marble. Um, and it shows the crowning of from one tiefling to another, one showing what looks to be a smaller tiefling female, from what you can kind of gather by the design, with a crown of silver, to a much more prominent figure of another female tiefling who looks to be a little stronger. Um, and as you continue down the hallway, you finally come to the main room where you see a bunch of what looks to be very strong mixtures of different races, but mostly look to be what you'd guess are the captains of those war galleons out front, as you see different Jolly Rogers going across. And then you see what looks to be about a 7-foot size human wearing full plate and wearing what looks to be a full plate helmet with two giant horns coming off of it and a giant battle axe that is by no means looks like it could be wielded by this humanoid. Sitting at the opposite end of the table in what looks to be a golden and bronze throne, sitting there eating with a really rough spoon from a wooden bowl, what looks to be some sort of shrimp dish. And as you guys are ushered in to sit down beside the captains, many of them making room and getting up and allowing you guys to sit, the room goes utterly silent from the earlier, what sounded like joy and enjoyment they were having in their conversation.
So are they like looking at us like they expect
Yep.
us to speak?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Tick.
gonna. Frey was gonna whisper in Tikva's ear. Since you called Parlay, you're supposed to speak first.
No, Tifa like does like a subtle hand gesture, like yes, yes, I know, and she clears her throat and speaks up, and she's like, "Thank you for accepting my request of parley. We traveled many, many miles, and I dare say even world, to come here and speak with you about an alliance and peace." And she kind of pauses to like gauge the response in the room before she continues?
Many of the captains seem to, as you pause, kind of stop staring at you and turn to this figure that, as you look over more, the armor starts to kind of starts to look a little bit more darkened, very battle worn. You can see what looks to be a giant scratch across it. Everyone, give me a perception check.
Fun. All right.
A what?
Perception check.
Time to get a nat 1. Oh boy.
And,
No, I got a 22.
Okay.
Wait, Anton, what did you get? Oh my god. Oh, I stole your luck, Anton.
Yep.
Fuck you, Troy.
15.
Well, you got 13, Kips?
18.
15.
15 and 18. Got it. Okay.
I got an 18.
So everyone other than Anton, you notice something on this man's chest. What looks to be the leather that's holding the axe. Again, this very unwieldy looking axe that looks to be nothing special other than a crude amalgamation of metal and a stick. But the leather strap that seems to hold it across his chest, you notice seems to have a sort of feline looking strap that, or patterned, almost like as if it was a cat's tail being used. You also, Tikva and Malthor, with your higher scores, you notice...
Freya.
Oh, sorry, yes. Freya and Tikva, you notice across the room that there is the skull of what looks to be a humanoid tabaxi on a pike.
When Tikva last saw Captain before he died to the beholder, he did have the ears and tail, didn't he,
Yes.
or did he lose them?
No, he
Okay,
still
so
had them.
she's aware. And he had the axe, or did I
No,
forget if he had a different
that was
weapon?
not his
No.
weapon, no.
Okay.
No, he carried cutlasses.
Oh, well, no, but he had like a magical one.
He did have a magical
forget
axe,
what
but
it
it
was.
wasn't a battle axe. It was a
He had a
hand
hammer.
axe.
Okay. Just clarifying.
I thought it was
so.
a hammer.
No, it was a hand axe.
So, Tikva will like continue, pushing forward. My name is Tikva Silversong. In the tragic death of my cousin Zaya Ravensong, I have taken over as queen of the Tiefling lands in her stead. I was told she had a great ally, one of her finest. When it came to captains, I had seen Captain Ricard Bennett, and I have told he is here now, leading the pirates, the biggest, grandest pirate army we've heard of. And she looks directly at this armored figure and is like, am I correct to believe that may be you?
As you say this, you notice many of the pirates seem to kind of stifle themselves, as many of them are trying not to chuckle or laugh at the situation. And as you notice that most of them, and these are hardy looking men. These are men that look like they've been through many a battles, scars, cut limbs. These are very strong looking people. You notice that as the armored figure puts his hand down, the chuckling completely goes quiet, and the room atmosphere suddenly goes extremely tense. As the armored figure stands up, and you're not sure, but you, Tikva and Anton, give me Arcana checks.
Oh boy, lots of checks lately. Okay.
Remind me, Freya's a paladin, right? Not
No, she's a fighter.
Okay, then yeah, you're good.
She's an Echo Knight, so she does have a sense for magic, just a very weak one.
Yeah,
Oof,
so you're
okay.
good. 30.
Nat 20
There's my bad
for a
roll.
30.
Okay. Let me message.
You stole your luck back, damn it.
Let me message you something really quick.
Hand it over. I want it.
And the armored figure begins to speak and goes, I have survived many a battles in my life. Not once did I ever find a more worthy foe than the one you refer to as Captain Ricard. We knew him as Admiral. However, he was nothing compared to the hordes of zombies I faced in my younger days. One could even say that I've seen sieges and warfare that none of you could imagine. But if you had a deal, an admirable one with Admiral Ricard, I will honor it. out of respect that he was a worthy opponent, on one request. There is a city beneath the oceans, as you've probably heard of, ran by sea elves, Tritons, something of the sort, fish folk, and many other aquatic races. Currently, they are dealing with a situation. My brother was a Triton that served in their guard. I hear he was unfortunately killed while guarding prisoners. And I would like you to return to these sea elves and their one king, a dragonborn of sorts, dragonkin as we were informed of, and find out what happened to him and who slayed him. I do not request vengeance, but I do require that the man or woman or creature face a natural judgment.
Good luck with.
Yeah, to clarify, Tikva has no knowledge
Nope,
of what
Tikva
the
has
party
no
got up
knowledge
to
of
in
who
the
this
sea.
is.
No, so she does.
This is
Does she
player
informed
laughing
that the
because.
was she
Yeah.
informed that the sea elves like hate Zaya and them
No.
and tried to murder them?
Mm-mm.
I forget if we told her that. No,
Nope.
did we tell Gaul? Did
No.
Gaul tell her? Nope. Great. Yeah, the
No.
Tikva.
No, but wouldn't Cyrus have told his child about this?
No.
I feel like that's kind of important.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he probably had a high-level overview.
so the only one of us that knows anything is probably stifling laughter in the background.
Yeah, because I don't think he would have probably. Well, he probably would have told him about the guards, how they escaped, but not many.
Not
details.
detail. Yeah, that's not exactly
Yeah,
it.
Not the details of shivving a guy
Not throwing a guy into the fire. No.
and then stabbing him.
Oh, what's my alignment?
Yeah.
Imagining Cyrus telling him, "I once had to escape from sea elves."
Remember, son,
And
if
then
you
starts
never know
laughing.
what to do, just ask out loud.
He-
What's my alignment?
The creature looks at you and goes, "Oh, all right." You see Kips kind of get up and starts to walk closer to the armored figure. Kips, the smell gets stronger the closer you get as you follow the smell.
Oh.
I'm gonna stop Kips.
Either it's lemons or undead.
The armored
That's my
figure kind of
guess.
looks at Kips and goes, "Can I be of assistance here? Is there something I can do for you?"
Why do you smell like chicken?
"Good sir, you insult me."
No, really. I You guys smell that, don't you? I smell chicken.
Can I roll a perception check
Go
to
ahead.
smell for chicken?
Sure.
Jesus Christ.
Considering they have geese on their
Son of a
flag, I have a safe guess of what it is.
Son of a bitch.
You don't. I guarantee you don't.
21.
Oh.
Yeah, you smell foul.
What? While they're distracted
There-
with
there-
that, I'm gonna.
There is a bird. I smell it, Kips, but I don't think it's him.
It's coming from him.
Go, Anton. What were you gonna say?
Oh, while people are distracted with that, I'm gonna lean over to Tikva and
Yeah.
share what I've discovered. I'll message her it.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, if you have the message spell or whatever, just want to whisper
Well,
it.
I'll just lean over and whisper
Yeah,
quietly.
I assumed you were sat next to
Okay.
me.
The man looks at Kips and goes, "Good
Mm.
sir, you declare that I'm a chicken. I will draw my axe at you if this continues."
No.
Kip.
No. Freya's gonna run up and be like, he's not calling you chicken in the sense of cowardice. He's calling you a chicken in the sense of your race. Meaning you smell like a...
"You would
Animal.
insult my species, good sir."
No. Woman.
Mm.
He doesn't reflect on it.
Kips, please take your seats. This investigation
Gonna
of yours,
slowly pull
doctor,
Kips
can
away
take
before I
place
make this any
after our
worse.
parley.
The-
Yeah, she looks at Kips and is like, your scientific inquiries can wait after the deal's been made.
Yes, ma'am. I lower my head down as I look to the floor, and I just walk back to my seat.
Now, as I was stating, I have suffered many of deeds. I fought in the siege of Dragon's Gate. I stood my ground against even the mighty wizard himself. I've never been insulted so much in my life by one so minuscule as he looks Kips up and down. Well, looks up to Kips up and down.
Up and up.
But
Why, hello there.
he continues, you have your alliance, should you find this killer. That I shall also warn that there is a creature in the deep that is causing more problems than it is worth. Our ships cannot set sail currently on the waters with this creature continuing its massacre, as you will.
Hmm.
It is a mighty beast you might be familiar with, the demonic creature known as the Tarask.
Yes.
While this thing remains in the water, we cannot set sail currently, nor will I allow any of my men to fall victim to it.
Yes. Last I heard, there was risk of it heading towards the Tiefling Kingdom, even. I thought, last I heard, the Jurassic despised water, but it appears that claim was untruthful.
Yes, but better the tieflings than the sea, in my opinion. It's not like there's a kingdom left over there anyways for it to destroy, and most of what we've heard is that most of the queens have died at this point and sent what few men they had left back to Dragon's Gate.
Well, there is rebuilding being done at the new capital, but yes, the colonies, which were attacked by the sea elves and scattered, have seemingly gathered towards Dragon's Gate and away from the main island. It's been dangerous to travel over the water with the creatures that have been lurking there.
So, you've been given your choice. Do this for me, and you will have my ships. Slay the Tarask, and my ships can set sail. I assume you are here as an envoy for someone.
I mean, it's been a while, but guys, I don't think we are. Out of character?
No, for once we were here just to get allies for the
No.
Tiefling Nation.
No, we are trying to gain allies with. I'm not sure what you've heard this far out, but there's been talk of, well, the Tarask and who may be controlling it in the Heli, of course. But there's also talk of a god war growing, getting ever powerful with these new deities coming to the realm, and, well, with so many threats on so many sides, we thought it smart to try to make alliances while we still could. You know, before the mass genocide that's sure to assume here shortly.
He waits for a moment. And as he pulls his axe and sets it down, you notice this axe seems to have a almost strange presence to it. You notice it's definitely of dwarven make from the golden design of it. Everyone give me a history check.
Oh, wonderful. I'm sure I'm
Okay,
great at history.
great. I'm actually good at this.
Is that sarcasm?
21.
21, okay. Fucking goddamn it,
14.
bro.
Oh my
Anton, calm
god!
down.
Stop
Wait.
it! Stop it! 2 nat 20s.
Alright. And
Wow.
Kips?
And Jill.
You're gonna get a nat 1 first combat encounter we have, I swear.
Kips, what'd you get? Oh, I think Kips walked away. Alright.
I'll roll for him then real quick, so he did give me control.
Sounds good.
Blump. 12 plus whatever his modifier is.
You...
I'm going to look at it now. It's just taking
look at his
a minute to load.
character sheet.
I will say at this point, Astros did not join you a lot. He is still on the ship, by the way.
Yeah. The Drake probably wouldn't be well met by the pirates.
He has +9, so he got 21 as well. Jesus, Kips.
So-
Well, twinsies.
Each of you recognize this item. This is called the Axe of the Dwarvish Lords. An axe used by typically the highest ranking member of Dwarven society amongst the mountain and hill dwarves. This is considered an artifact of a legend as well in itself. And the man just sets it down and goes, "Yes, I'm familiar with the god war that is coming. I heard it from a young woman back in my travels. Someone by a woman you may be familiar with, as named by Aaron. Aaron, I believe, is also another way for pronouncing her name. When she was still queen."
Yes, we ran into her a bit ago. I hear she's back at Dragon's Gate.
Ah, yes, that sounds about accurate. I ran into her during my fight. I managed to hold my while I was managing to hold my own until suddenly someone tried to set me aflame, and well, those around me managed to run while I was fighting off a small horde of zombies that decided to drop upon me. I managed to find this rusted old axe amongst one of the clerics that had fallen. Didn't know the man's name, but it was useful, and apparently I would later find out that this item is meant to slay gods themselves. If there is truly a god war coming, I have no concern of that, but if you seek allies, you have your task.
Of course. And this evidence we get, you wish for us to bring and present ourselves, or
Correct.
send... Well then, we shall be here back in person once the deed is done then.
Yes, you are welcome to stay here as long as you need. Do not fight. Do not kill any of the men here, as they have the same rules. And act with respect, because while we may be considered outlaws by the formal nations, to be honest, in this world today, I wouldn't consider us at all such a thing, but more than a resistance.
And DM, to clarify, he hasn't given his name yet, has he?
He has not.
Tickfa will nod and be, one more thing, before we are to depart and prepare, if you don't mind.
Speak.
May I inquire to your name, sir?
The man takes off his helmet, or begins to slowly take off his helmet, and you notice his neck is very white and almost fluffy looking, as if it has fur on it. And as he pulls his helmet off, you see the large head of a goose staring at you. And the man looks at you
God, I knew it.
and introduces himself as, he goes, "My name is Admiral Hjonk of the noble house of Hjonkerson, the last of my family."
Okay, I'm done now.
Shut up,
I'm
Tom.
sorry.
And while
Tickfa!
as he kind of shows the bite on his neck, as you see this horrendous scar of what looks to be some sort of teeth mark, "I am also the slayer of Dragon's Gate, the only man who's managed to duel and defeat Tenem in single combat. And I even managed to push Zilpip back from the brink."
Very well then, Admiral Hjonk of House Hjonkerson. It is a pleasure to look forward to being your ally such dire time.
"And you, young tiefling, may I acquire to who and what your title is?"
She did introduce herself.
She gave it when this all started.
Yeah, she'll... Okay, she'll nod her head.
Repeat it.
Yeah, see. Tikva Silversong, the new queen of what remains of the Tiefling Empire.
He kind of stops for a second, looking at you, and goes, "Ah, did you by chance travel with one known as Zaya Ravensong?"
I did not have the pleasure of traveling with my cousin, but she did travel with others before her fatal demise for about 2 years or so, I believe.
Are you familiar with the one known as Cyrus Galadron?
I am familiar. I believe he was a ally of hers in those times. He was a wizard, served as, well, I guess I'm forgetting the word in person. What's it for wizard people?
Magic casters?
No, that like
Mage.
you confide in them for like advice,
Oh,
like the
A
royalty.
confidant?
Confidant, yeah. Her wizardly confidant and helper of the arcane.
You notice the room has gone very quiet, and most of the other captains seem to almost start to sweat slightly.
Hmm. I didn't know him much though. I never really traveled with them. I was always at the castle, admittedly doing most of the royal work, while my cousin traveled. I only know his
Gallivanting.
name.
Hmm. That is good
If
to
I
know.
may, sir,
Yes. And your
why do
name?
you ask about? I am Anton Galadron,
You are his son?
Oh,
not by blood, but yes.
The man kind of takes a second. It is believed, after my contacts in the Sea Elven kingdoms, that Cyrus Galadron had something to do with this situation I've handed you.
mm.
Some have informed me that he may be at fault, some have contradicted such a statement. My issue
Question out of
is that I now wonder if you lot are not guilty of the crime.
Well, if Cyrus is guilty, it would be quite a shame, although I assume it was to meet some goal he wasn't really one to fight, studious, if I heard. But like I said, Anton, I did not know uh, during my stay, and I was at the kingdom the whole time. I was rarely informed of what they were doing, nor had a say, although I wish I had. And she gestures to Kips. He had joined, I think, sometime during their travels. I'm not sure when, and she gestures to Freya. She's only recently joined after some weird experience we had where she seemed to have swapped places with a warforged ally of ours, some trickster magic type at fault. We think tied to the gnome you told us of, Zilpip, or his twin. I'm not going to say he didn't do it, but he did so without any of our knowing.
And I do not know any details, sir. I know that he did speak of going to the Sea Elf Kingdom at one point in time, and then escaping from there. But beyond that, he never told me details.
Out of character, what was the name of the person he was wondering who died again? Was it just one of those Nord lords?
No, it
No,
That
was
one of
one of
the
the
Cyrus-
guards.
guards.
One of the guards.
Oh, and did he say like the relation to the guard or?
Brother.
Oh, a Goose brother? Fun.
No. He's
No,
most like
I'm
a Triton.
joking.
Mm,
Okay.
Concern.
No, okay, but yeah, that's all Tikva says. If it helps you to know, Cyrus is no longer with us. He's off doing something or another. We've had no contact with him for. And she looks to Anton. How long now?
Trying to think of what it is in game.
Yeah, how long
Gotta
since
be.
we went from the Nordlands?
It's got to be what, a couple weeks, 3
Uh,
weeks, month. I don't know.
It's
Something
been a
like
few
that.
months, yeah.
Yeah, a few months.
Few months, yeah. He's a mysterious man.
Nope.
You lose.
The man, Hyunk kind of stops. If I find out that any of you are responsible for this situation, then there will be problems to be paid. I will warn that.
Well, if one of my colleagues, and she looks to the others, would like to speak up now, or hold their tongue, then I have faith that at least my hands are clean of this. And I should hope the others are as well.
As are mine.
Gibbs.
Kips wasn't there.
No, yeah, he met them during the Sea Elf times, but it was after.
Yeah.
So none of us were directly involved.
Chin McKim and Nummaget.
And the only reason Tren knows who Hyunkinson is because of the fact that he's the one who came up with the original idea.
You stole my Hyunkson.
Yep.
You should have put a trademark on it.
He didn't let me play him, and then he took him from me. But it's fine. Whatever. I get to see him either way. It's
Man continues. As far as I'm concerned, I will allow this to be let go for the time being. You bring me Cyrus here as I suspect him more than any, or you find the proper person at fault. Elsewise, you can forget your alliance, and you can forget any chance that the tieflings might have at leaving their homeland.
Very well. We shall go and find what we can.
Good. And as he kind of ushers you all away, the pirate captains kind of get up from their tables and start kind of meandering away, accepting kind of the situation. And as Hyunk puts his helmet back on and retires to a room that kind of out of sight. All right. What would you lot like to do?
I forget. There was like a war happening during that time, right?
Oh yes, the Sea Elves were at war. That is correct.
With the Sea Leviathan.
There could have been other prisoners. He could have died to someone else. It doesn't have to be Cyrus.
There
Yeah,
were.
so-
What could have happened
yeah.
is Cyrus killed one of the other prisoners. Killed the guards. Cyrus
At
killed
the
the
very
prisoners.
least, we need good evidence to frame somebody else. Because I have high doubts if it is Cyrus that we will be able to
Frey's
get
gonna
Cyrus.
look at. Frey's
I'm
going
not
to
saying
look
that in character.
at
This is out of
Anton.
character.
And going to simply say, Anton, could you message your father and get him here? Clear this up.
If we could somehow get a message to your distant and
If it was that easy.
so mysterious father.
I mean,
I
does
can attempt
anybody
so.
have the sending spell?
Oh
he
yeah, I
does.
have it.
No, I have
'Cause-
faith. He could easily find any message we leave, given his abilities. The question is, if he'd be willing to give us the time to respond. And her tail like flicks a bit as she says this.
He had better.
Right. Give me a moment. Tikva will like. You said the captains are still around.
Yeah, they're all walking about. They've kind of gone meandering back into the town and out of the throne room.
Where's the
Tempted to go
nearest?
start a arm wrestling ring for gold.
No. Where's the nearest one? The nearest captain. Who's the nearest captain?
Well, you see plenty. Is there is there something in particular you're looking for?
Just, I guess the closest one who, just glancing them over, looks like they'd be open to some conversation. Tikva just wants to ask a question.
I mean, as you look around, you see what looks to be a Githyanki that you've never seen before. A very strange-looking man. A couple of Goliaths. What looks to be a goblin of sorts.
Go to the goblin.
No.
And I'm just going through here real quick. Let me look at this because I have my list written down. And a few, as well as a couple of dwarven lords. It looks like a couple of gnomes.
Never trust gnomes or dwarves.
That's fair. Okay. There's my list.
Goliaths should be okay. They're stone folk as well, though, so be careful.
You do see a couple of fellas walking about. A very large red orc. What looks to be a strange-looking Aasimar at one point. And
what about Dragonborn?
You see a what Freya recognizes as one of the elite Dragonborns, a Drakenblood. What is considered in the Dragonborn lands as a very high noble for their what they're called purity, which is actually just a way of saying, yeah, they have a lot of disabilities. Yeah. You see actually two of them. One who looks to be a little bit more well seasoned, as well as a smaller looking silver one that has tattoos carved all into their scales.
Go date the silver one, Freya.
And then lastly, you see a changeling walking around, which you immediately recognize as a changeling having been experienced with
Fell.
Not Fell, shit.
Itu,
yeah.
Itu.
I think seeing the changeling, Tifa was like originally like about to walk towards the Githyanki, but seeing the changeling, she like turns her course and will walk over and be like, "Excuse me, may I talk to you a moment?"
He looks at you, and as you look him up and down, you notice that he's wearing some heavier armor. Seems to be carrying some strange items overall, but he looks to almost be similar to what you'd expect a paladin to look like as far as the equipment. And he has like sort of a little bit more of a posture, as if he has a stick up his ass.
Wonderful.
So a man who's been well raised by the church, and the man goes, Queen Tikva, as he bows and goes to reach for your hand. It is.
Don't let him.
It is an honor to meet you. As he just touches your hand with his forehead. My name is Ragnum of the Rag Pirates. I did not name us. This is the name we were given. How may I be of assistance?
Well, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Ragnum. I was simply going to inquire about potential markets or stalls or trade you might have here in the pirate colonies. We were looking to get supplies, but you are a changeling, are you not? I'm very curious about your people. I was informed we had an alliance written not long ago between the changeling and the tieflings, but after the disappearance of your people, it's hard to contact anyone about it.
Yes, my people are treated to under the Yuan-Ti lands. Last I'd heard from my brother, he is currently managed to get a message out when his scouting party was attacked. They are stuck under one of the main hives and have been desperate for help, but even I can't. I wouldn't chance fighting the Yuan-Ti queens. They have that one god Logothus on their side. I do not wish to anger such a man. But yes, I can take you to a store that sells unique items, if you will. They're on the more expensive side, but if you're looking for something in particular, I can recommend. Most of them are in the more categorized of rarer items.
Well, yes, that'd be great. I mean, I'm sure just food and basic supplies, but I mean, we are willing to browse while we're here.
Well then, yes, I would be happy to help you with that. As he kind of looks at you. If I may, we can continue on. I will show you to the market stalls and the better portion of the market. We do not wish to join the regular cruises. You will not find anything more than basic items of cheap knickknacks and stuff that you would expect to be falsified, if you will. A lot of
course.
Sailors around here tend to try and make what money they can off of the less intelligent, as he looks at Freya.
Right. Freya's going to look insulted, but also worried because he mentioned Logothus. She has experiences with that god.
Is she within here?
Freya is sticking close to the certain queen because
Also, if I may,
Very uncomfortable.
my queen, if you do not mind, I would request that your compatriot there, as he looks to the fluffy furbolg and goes, I've heard he is a renowned doctor and very good at curing scurvy.
He is. In fact,
Lemons.
his research with lemons and citruses are well known among the Tiefling Kingdom.
Lemon.
He looks to you and says, "May I borrow him? A good amount of my crew are suffering from either scurvy or, unfortunately, vampirism, which we haven't managed to cure as of yet."
Oh, he, in fact, has been doing research and I think has even developed a at least semi-functional cure to vampirism as well. And she'll like wave him over. Kips, there's a gentleman here. He would love your research regarding scurvy and vampirism.
I'm going to run over there screeching.
You notice the other captains just kind of watch as Kips runs over them. Some start to look like they're about to draw their weapons, worried, as Ragnum kind of waves his hand. You get the sense that this is a man of a little bit more well-establishment amongst the pirate
Yeah.
crews. And he looks at you and goes,
It shows well.
Ah, yes, young Kips. I request your assistance. Of course, I will pay you in any means that you request. If you will help cure some of my crew, we've been stuck here because of the unfortunate situation. My first mate contracted vampirism while visiting his sister in the Nordlands, and a good
Yes.
few of them have unfortunately gained scurvy. Morons wouldn't eat their fruits, so you may have to force it down their throats.
We did just come from the Nordlands not too long
I
ago.
can assist with the forcing of fruits down throats.
If you do not mind, my men are a little more squirmish around the Dragonborn currently. We've just returned from your homelands, and unfortunately, it seems their god king isn't very fond of non-scaled creatures.
No, he's not very fond of those of metallic color.
Well,
If,
from what I've heard, he's been paying well for anybody who can manage to cure this giant, and what he is referring to as an alpha Dragonborn. But, anyways, yes. What would you
Yeah.
request of these services, Kips?
Good question. Well, gold would be nice. That's always a nice thing.
He looks at you and goes, fine, 700 gold pieces without a question.
Yeah, that's fine by me. Okay.
He kind of pulls off a leather pouch and opens it and starts pulling out jewels and gold coins and eventually counts it out and says, yes, and he shoves it back in the pouch and he just tosses it to you. This should help you. And as you grab it, Kips, you sense magic coming off of it.
Surprised Kips didn't ask for like live people to experiment on.
Kips,
No.
add a bag of holding to your inventory with 700 gold pieces.
Now you can store body parts.
Genius. I didn't even think of that, but I'm so glad you
Wait,
did.
Because there's
no,
no
you need
air,
the
so
bag
they
of
can't
preserving.
rot. There's
Yes,
no
they can.
oxidization.
Yeah.
It goes into the astral
No,
steam,
because
so.
don't the bacteria and stuff still
Nope.
need oxygen?
Nope.
Nope, bacteria does not.
What
Now,
a shame.
if
Worms do.
he kind of grabs one of his crew members, a very small-looking elven boy, and says, "Yes, follow him. He'll take you to the ship." And Kips, you immediately recognize this is a drow. This is one of the very few drow you've ever seen, but you recognize him from the very pale hair, which most of the other elves do not have.
Take me to your dead boy.
Kid kind of looks at you, a little concerned. You see his nice scar on his cheek, and he just kind of nods as he takes your hand and starts walking. He's very tiny, and his grip is weak.
As he's dragging me, I'm going to start screeching up into the air while he's dragging me.
You notice the child is now a little more terrified and bothered, and has stopped holding her hand as he continues walking.
Let us go.
All right. As you head off towards the ship, you come to one of the larger war galleons, and we'll come back to you in a minute. In fact, we'll come back to the entire party in a minute, as the DM has to run to the restroom.
Wonderful. I can use this opportunity to get rid of my plate and get a drink.
Ditto also.
Thank you for waiting. I assume Kips isn't back yet.
Don't think so.
Alright, we'll take a second. Wait for him. Whew. Coffee it just kills you when you get older.
I was back, but then I left my water glass downstairs.
Oh, damn. Run, Troy. Be free. Ah. The moment you realize all of these pirates are very wealthy.
Slowly drags the bag of holding towards the gold pile.
Yeah, piss off the guy who's in charge of all of these pirates. He probably doesn't have
Joking.
anything valuable.
I mean, he's a goose.
But,
All you have to do is like give
Royce,
him bread.
would I be able to roll? What would I roll to sense that special thing that we've discussed before?
Message me what that special thing is.
The sword.
Message me what that special thing is.
The Zelda.
I don't fucking remember.
The sword.
It's been like a
with
month
the
and a half
stone.
since our last game, so I don't remember anything.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I can here. I can't even find my notes, to be honest. Oh, yep, I remember. I forget. Was that was a homebrew item, correct?
Yes.
Alright, let me look at my homebrew collections.
You couldn't add it because I couldn't post it. It was private.
Oh, that
I did send the page to you. I did send the page to you, and now it is public, so you can't find it.
Alright, let me see if I can find... Let me look through here.
I can go up and get the message and pin it.
I've got it.
PMs.
The Unfettered. Yep, I got it right here. Alright. Add to my collection.
That's its final stage. Its first
Yeah.
stage is dormant.
Yeah, no, I see them all, yep.
Good.
You are
What-
fine. I'm just reading something real quick. Oh yeah, the poison ivy, the ivy sword from fucking Soul Calibur. Now I remember.
I should just nickname it Ivy at this point. Codename Ivy.
No, if you'd said it was the ivy sword, that would have picked up, because that's what I did a lot, was play Soul Calibur. It just took me a minute.
Sword whip.
You forgot to add that this sword has the jiggle physics added to it magically, and requires you to wear really revealing clothing and then fight in battles to the death.
It does not. No. Cease. Cease your ceaseless editions.
For those who
I
haven't
already
played.
have another. Already have another friend trying to tell me it needs fire damage because it needs to be icy hot.
No, I'm just thinking Ivy. Like, honestly, that's the first thing I think for this.
Anyways, what do I need to see if I can sense it here?
Let me look at something real quick. I'm gonna say give me a general athletics, goddamn, arcana check, to see if you sense anything with strong magic to it, and then after that, give me a wisdom check.
Okay, Arcana is a 20 total.
Okay. Got it.
And Wisdom is an 18.
Okay. All right, now that Kips is back, as you lot are kind of following Ragnum to the market, I'll come back to each of you individually. We'll start with Freya. Staying kind of behind Freya as you watch the rest of the party going, you begin trying to sense for magic, and honestly, you sense a lot. There's magic everywhere around you. You sense as you start looking at a lot of the weapons in this pile, most of them seem to be of a rare or higher valued stature. After a little bit, you do sense two items that have a lot of magic to them. Give me a moment. I'm pulling something up. The first you notice seems to be a sword sticking out. You can just kind of see the hilt. And then the second seems to be, and give me a moment to pull it up. What looks to be kind of what you can only describe as a strange looking hand sticking out of the gold pile.
I'm going to ignore the hand
Okay.
entirely.
All right.
The sword has caught my interest. It's in the gold pile though, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm just gonna go look at it. Not touching it, not getting too close to it, just examining it.
Okay. The closer you get, you notice that this sword, all you can see is the handle as it seems to be buried in this pile of gold coins. As you're kind of looking at it, you notice the gold coins are from all different countries. Given your youth, you spent a little bit of time traveling through a couple of countries. Not many.
Yeah, being enslaved and traded as merchandise does do that.
Yeah. And you notice a lot of these. You recognize some of these gold currencies. You see stuff from lands that you've gone through multiple times. You see coins that you didn't even know the nations had coins, but you recognize the faces stamped onto them from the kings and queens that ruled over them. And as you look at this sword, you do see that it seems to have a strange blue gem on its handle with a kind of golden leather. And as you kind of look at it, your arcana kind of starts flying off the charts, if you will. You also notice that around or on the hilt seems to be a small, icy looking ring of some sort. And both seem to be giving off a lot of magic.
I'm guessing I feel drawn to it.
You feel drawn to both. That is correct. But you hear no voices. You sense no presence, other than a few captains, some of the random pirates, kind of watching you more vigilantly because you're standing in front of a giant gold pile.
I'm not gonna touch it. I'm just gonna be staring at the sword for the entire time.
Okay.
Like, I want to touch this, but I know I shouldn't.
Okay, we'll come back to you in a minute. Anton,
Thinking about
what is your plan during this? Are you following Tikva, or are you gonna go off on your own a little bit?
I will follow Tikva for right now.
Okay.
Although I will
Mm-hmm.
kind of, as I'm walking, cast Ascending, attempting to contact Cyrus.
Okay, give me a random or give me a Arcana check and then a just normal D20 roll. Yeah, no worries, Freya.
Arcana's pretty high. And then regular, just straight D20.
Mm-hmm. All right.
3, apparently.
Okay. So your message goes through. You do sense that, but you get no response. What are you wanting to say?
Let's see. Will be spoke with. I don't remember the name of the guy now because I remember Sir Ducks a lot that I put in the chat.
Hyonkson.
Yonkington.
Yeah.
Yonkington.
Hyonk.
Spoke with
Goose
Yonkington.
His name's Hyonk.
Is looking.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yonk. Yeah. Spoke with Yonk at Pirates Cove. Is looking for the killer of a guard in the Sea Elf Kingdom.
Okay.
From the time when you were there.
And yeah, you get no response. However,
Okay.
you sense it goes through, and things go. And as things go on, nothing changes.
Okay. That's
All
all
right.
he's
I
gonna
think
do.
being a time
other
wizard,
than-
he would have predicted we'd need this information and told Anton.
You'd think,
Oh, yeah.
but you know what? Thinking gets you a lot of times.
Mhm.
So as
Headache.
Cheese.
yes, cheese exactly. All right. So as you lot continue, is there anything else you want to do, Anton?
No, not currently.
Okay.
Just kind of taking in the space.
Okay.
Actually, wait, maybe do I have that prepared? Scrolling. Nope, I don't have it currently prepared. I'd have to do it as a ritual. I was going to do it detect magic, but I'm not going to take 10 minutes to do that.
You sense a lot of magic.
Yeah.
So okay, as you guys are continuing walking, I will jump over to Kips real quick. Kips, as you're taken onto the ship, you see what looks to be a bunch of crew members walking about. Many of them look to be kind of having what looks to be yellow eyes. Some are puking over the sides of the boats. You notice one man, a very large-looking Goliath, is tied up to what looks to be a very heavily metaled chair. And as the boy kind of drags you onto the ship, he just points at a couple of crew members throwing up and falling over, and as well as the man being tied or that's been tied down to the chair, and goes, "That's what the captain asked. Get to work."
You got it. All right. I'm gonna just clap,
Mm-hmm.
summon my lab,
Okay.
get in the door, and start procuring my massive supply of lemons and start giving them to the crew with scurvy, since they seem like the easiest to fix.
Okay. All right. As you start grabbing the crew members and dragging them over, really at this point, most of them are so gaunt that it's not really hard for you to just grab them by the arm and pull them with you. Although one of them, as you go to grab his arm and pull, it comes off. And the crew member just looks at you, looks at his arm, then looks back at you, and then you can keep it. Congrats, you now have an arcane propulsion arm.
What?
And he kind of takes one of the barrels of lemons and starts dragging it with him over to the other side of the ship and just starts scarfing them down. He doesn't even peel them, doesn't open them. He just eats it straight.
Yeah. Okay, so that'll probably take a while, but they're probably just gonna need to eat a bunch of lemons. So I'm gonna just start taking out like crates of the stuff and just start putting them in the room.
Okay.
And by everybody, like everybody's bedside who has scurvy.
You count at one point around 35 men who have scurvy.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's and you start as you're looking about the ship, you notice there's no chef on board that catches your eye. And start to realize why these men aren't eating well.
Understood.
But you do find a lot of meat that is somewhat rancid, but still edible from your guess.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking my vampirism vaccines, and I'm going to... First, I'm going to give one to me, just to make sure that I'm okay in case somebody bites me.
Give me a medicine check.
You got it. That's a 20, not a nat.
Okay. No, as you kind of stab yourself in the arm with it, you feel fine. A little hungry, like you're craving red meat, but, not craving blood, you're just hungry in general.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. And then I'm going to start administering the shots to everybody with vampirism.
Okay. As you begin kind of working on them left and right, you find about 4 members. Most of them are tied to something very hefty that they haven't managed to break. And you notice the rope seems to be semi-magical, basically being given some boost to make it unbreakable by a natural just strength alone. After you get through the first few patients, you notice one of the patients is a furbolg. And he's got almost red, kind of reddish fur, very, like more of a brown reddish, and eyes the same color as your own.
Huh. Do I recognize him?
You do. This looks to be someone from your original village.
Interesting. What do I know?
You don't remember the guy's name. You spent most of your time studying medicine in your own little hobby hole. But he's smaller, not bald on top like yourself, and he is younger than you. You don't remember his name. You don't really remember what he did or what happened to him. You just remember he was one of the furbolgs that happened to run around the village and annoy you on occasion.
Interesting. Well, I'll administer the shot to him as well as the rest. So.
All right. As you kind of give him a shot, he kind of comes to after a little while and looks up at you and goes, "George, is that you,
What?
George?"
No, I'm Camps. Hello.
As you mention your name, the guy kind of opens his eyes and kind of tries to start squirming away from you as quickly as he can, although he's stuck to this very heavy chair that he doesn't seem to be able to move and tied down to it.
Hi there.
He looks almost like he's frightened of you right now as he's trying to squirm away.
Don't worry. All my patients do that. It's fine.
You're Kips.
Yeah.
Please don't eat me. I promise. Please don't eat me.
Why would I eat you?
You know why.
No, I really don't. Mind explaining?
All of the kids knew.
I'm just gonna grab the chair, lean in closer.
Man looks. You can smell urine at this point. The man looks and goes, "We all know what you did to the people who you brought into your little den. We heard the stories."
What people? Because I don't remember bringing anyone in. I'm gonna be honest with you.
All those poor young victims. It was your fault the village was set aflame.
Oh, mine.
You brought those damn dwarves down on us. It was your own fault.
Hey, you want to read this novel I made? I have it with me in my bag. I think you might be interested in it.
I can't read. Please don't eat me. Please don't eat me. And
Let me read it
please,
to you.
please, as he passes out.
Okay. Well, there he goes. What about the big guy?
The big Goliath seems to have gone unconscious as well. It seems that each of the patients you've administered to this vaccine to have passed out.
Do they still have a pulse though? All
Yeah.
of them? Okay.
It's
Just making
faint,
sure.
but you assume it's because they're asleep.
Okay. Then just coming back from undeath, but whatever.
Yeah, go ahead and give me a medicine check actually.
That would be a 24.
After examining each of the bodies, you realize, yeah, they are definitely alive. They are fighting off what you'd consider, in your medical opinion, a major infection with the help of this vaccine. And it's probably going to be a few days before they recover if they don't explode like that one king did. Which you're still not 100% sure if that was due to your vaccine or due to something else entirely.
That's fair. All right. Well, all right. Well, just in case, I can I've never actually done this before. Can somebody explain what ritual casting is? Never.
It means
instead of using a spell slot, you can use components and take the time to cast it as a ritual.
If you're able to with your class ritual cast, which you should be able to. So if you take the extra time, it won't cost a spell slot.
All right. And do you require material components for that? Because I know you usually don't.
I don't require material components, but it will take you about the day to cast this.
All right. Well, I want to cast Gentle Repose on basically everybody within the room. Is that
okay? Yeah, that'll take. You're experienced enough as a doctor, quote unquote. That
isn't Gentle Repose a cantrip?
No, it's a second level spell.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna take you a little the whole day probably to get each of these bodies.
That's fine.
But you assume you could probably pull it off.
Yep. Okay, that's fine. And then after that, I'm gonna go ahead and tell the captain that it's time.
Okay.
All right. So, yeah.
Okay. So as you go to do that, we will move on to the next person, Tikva.
Yep.
As you and Anton are being led by Ragnum to the market, you pass by a few what look to be inns, a couple whorehouses, a tavern here and there. Nothing that really catches your eye other than the smell of really cheap alcohol, as you recognize from your early days of traveling, or your younger days when traveling. You do see something that does catch your eye, as you see a tiefling there with missing kind of an eye and having a bloodied bandana covering it. He looks to be wearing what looks to be something sort of like a bone armor, and has a little iron cage at this stall, this really crickety stall he's set up with a small looking yellow or a yellowish white worm that seems to have a giant mouth and almost kind of looks like it's made of stone slightly. And it's probably no bigger than your hand right now from the looks of it.
Worms in the cage.
Mm-hmm.
Do I know
Well-
anything about it?
Well, go ahead and give me a history check. Or an animal check. An
Okay.
animal handling check. Either one I'll take.
Let me see which one I'm better at.
Both will give you different pieces of information.
History it is.
Okay.
Oh, no,
Jesus,
he rolled
Anton.
history. I guess I'll go animal handling then.
I need to throw an ancient dragon at you today. I'm realizing that.
13.
Anton, you've never seen this animal
Yes.
before. You are not familiar in the slightest on what this is.
Okay.
Tikva, you look at
Worm.
this thing and you kind of get the idea that this is something familiar as you look at it. You don't recognize the species, but you're getting strange. You start to see strange flashbacks as your eyes kind of roll back a little bit in your head. And Anton and Ragnum, as I look at you, just see basically as you're kind of almost looking like you're having a stroke for a second.
PTSD.
As you get flashes of what is fire, a giant Iron Man beating against a wall, and the smell of acid in the air, as well as the sound of laughter around you.
Okay.
And Ragnum just kind of looks at Anton like, is this normal?
Tikva, like, as she's having these flashbacks, her breathing, like, picks up, and I think she, like, instinctively just, like, begins to just, like, form flame in her hand, and her eyes are, like, changing a different color, and she's clearly going through an episode of something as she's staring this worm down.
Yeah, it seems to be something the royalty do occasionally, from what I've been told.
Ragnum just kind of looks at you and kind of shrugs his shoulder. Tieflings, they're a unique lot. And
Anton just nods.
as Tikva continues staring at this creature, the tiefling merchant kind of notices this and kind of walks over and goes, "Ah, you look like the wealthy sort." And Ragnum just kind of steps back a couple of steps to get out of the way. And the tiefling walks towards Tikva and goes, "Never mind." And turns to Anton. Goes, "You look like the wealthy sort. Would you be interested in one of our famous rockworms?"
Tikva blinks out of it, and she looks at the person and be like, "Rockworms, you're a breeder of these?"
Yes, my guild uses them in warfare. We use them in sport, all that type of stuff.
What guild?
Oh, I would imagine you as a tiefling would recognize the bone armor I'm wearing. I'm with the bone scales.
Did the tieflings and the rockworm that killed Tikva have bone armor?
Yes, and she was told that they were the bone scales before she died.
Tikva just like looks at the armor, and she
So
like
what
looks
does this-
contemplative.
So what does this rockworm do? What's it
Ah.
capable of?
So they grow, and he kind of pulls out a couple pictures of what looks to be really badly drawn. Like, you imagine this is what a small child would draw.
Right.
And, like, it's a little stick figure human being on the bottom. They grow to immense sizes. They are great for disguising as caves to capture your enemies. They can devour pretty much any sort of flesh. In fact, they can even devour some metals and manage to sustain themselves. But what they're really used for is melting down prisoners and taking all of their stuff and information, and they're being able to use their brains in a sense from the victims to gain their memories. One of my cohorts managed to even get a pretty good contract. We found a warforge that we melted down into a sword, and there was a goblin, if I remember right, a dragonborn of some sort. I don't even remember what he looked like, but he had some really good armor on him. His memories were weird. He had memories of being, and he was complete mute, trapped, couldn't say anything. It was the most interesting thing. But yeah, they're really
Uh,
good for just capturing and torturing people.
your guild sounds skilled. If I wanted to get a hold of them, perhaps even hire them, where would I go? Who would I talk to? The
Uh,
leader of this, perhaps?
yes, the leader. His name is Aranron. Not the
Hmm.
name by humans. You know how they are when they were raised tieflings. He last I heard, he was in the Storm King's territories currently doing a job. You'd probably have to speak with him, or you could find one of our main members who's kind of a contact, Greg, the Bloodthirsty, really famous guy from the
Hmm.
Dwarven lands. Used to run a guild before it got destroyed. Um, we are actually looking for recruits if you're interested, as he kind of raises an eyebrow at Tikva. Pretty thing like you would probably do really well amongst our guild. We'd even teach you demonic magics.
Hmm. I am a bit busy right now, admittedly, but I'll definitely be doing my research and looking into this. I'm very, very, very curious about this guild. I admittedly haven't heard much. Perhaps I was a bit more sheltered with my upbringing. Uh, can you type out that name of the guy, by the way,
Yeah,
DM?
of the leader.
All right. Yeah. No, no, actually, never mind.
I was gonna say it's here.
No, I was gonna say I don't. You said Anton's been with Tikva for a few months now.
Mhm. Yeah, there you
Hmm. Ron. Oh, I get it.
go. Okay,
It's a.
he got that name before Grim Legacy became a thing. Thank you very much. It
I
was a
hate.
randomly generated name I got. All right.
What's Anton's passive? What's it? Insight
First,
again?
14.
14. Ah, you think Tikva sounds a little weird than she normally does, but maybe she just has a weird tone of voice. You don't know. Maybe it's a tiefling thing.
the man looks at you and goes, if you don't mind, I will hand you. I'll give you my card. You can use a sending spell to if you ever need to get in contact." And he
Of
kind of
course.
hands
Thank
you his
you.
card, and it says Ron, the Demon Worm dealer, and it's basically a really badly drawn version of him with a smiley face on it.
Yeah, she takes the card and she pockets it, and yes, thank you. Of course. Once we are done with this quest, I will look into this.
He kind of looks confused. Quest? Hmm.
Uh, we were given a mission by your leader, Admiral Hyonk, that will be departing on soon. We came here to look for potential wares and supplies before we headed off.
Well, if you're interested in any exotic pets, feel free to reach out. I'm very happy to help in any way I can. Nothing like
Oh,
seeing a tiefling outside of our homeland. Many of us don't seem to travel much these days.
no, admittedly not. What kind of pets did you have? Besides the worm, of course.
Well, are you looking for intelligent? Are you looking for
Hmm.
non-intelligent? Are you looking for what would you be interested?
I preferably would like something intelligent, something to use perhaps on my quests. They involve a lot of battle, perhaps something that could aid me in battle or be intimidating. I could use something to protect me.
So you're looking for a slave. I've got you. Right? Get one moment. As
I could use one too.
he starts pulling out a couple of albino-looking dwarves. You see a
Hmm.
very young-looking little tiefling boy. It looks more like a mix. Instead of being the traditional tiefling appearance, he seems to have natural fire kind of coming off of him, and his tail is much shorter with a flame and being actually made of flame rather than made of actual flesh. Um,
Hmm.
and
I require slaves.
he brings out some animated armor and a couple of apes, a couple of humans, and a small, what looks to be a younger human of sorts that seems to be wearing a long cloak and a wizard's hat.
Uh, Tikva's gonna pause and be like, that tiefling boy, he doesn't seem like a full-blooded tiefling. What's his deal?
Ah, yes. You notice the boy is like tied up and gagged. He's got his hands are
Mm.
soaked or basically stuck in a jar of water as you take a closer look at him. And as you kind of get a closer look, you also see he has a lot of weird markings on him of what looks to be like red, almost tattoo-like marks that represent fire all
Would
across his
I
body.
know? Is it just markings, or is there like language?
There's no language on it.
Anything? Nope, just markings. Okay.
Yep. And the man looks at you and goes, "Yes, yes. That is the child. He's a half species. Uh, I I imagine as a fellow tiefling, you wouldn't be much interested in knowing. We're so big on our purity. He is part genocide, part tiefling, a disgusting creature, if you will. But he fetches a high price for his magical ability. He is naturally extremely good at magic. Uh,
What price would this be?
he kind of perks up at that. Mm, um, as he kind of looks you up and down. What do you think would be a fair deal?
What does Tikva know when it comes to the usual price for half-breed slaves? I'm sure she'd know
You
something along
Tieflings
the tiefling
don't
land.
breed with any other species. This is an extreme rarity. Supposedly, from what Tikva would know, having a noble education, in
Mhm.
this world, tieflings originate supposedly originate from the genocide species as a mix of genocide and demonic beings.
Mhm.
So it means he's more pure. Technically, he's theoretically more pure-blooded. But
More pure blood, but he
you've
speaks as though he isn't.
yes,
Yeah.
because
So
most tieflings today don't actually believe themselves to be descendants of anything other than pure
yeah,
demonic royalty.
this merchant, he doesn't seem like he's got any noble
No,
background, or
this
he's very
seem
well versed. So
yeah.
what does a normal tiefling like slave boy would probably, what would the price be if Tikva had an educated guess?
Uh, she's never seen a tiefling go for sale.
Hmm.
So she would not have any idea. By the looks of this kid, he is some sort of he looks to actually have some natural abilities. You could try doing a couple checks on him to see what you recognize.
Yeah, yeah. Tikva wants to get a guess because she definitely doesn't want to give him too much, but she has a feeling if she gives him too little, he might also not take well. So she wants to have a gauge. She wants to definitely try to get a lower price since he's a half breed, but she doesn't know what normal tieflings go for.
Hmm.
So yeah, if I could get a judge of his abilities and also maybe his current health, like
Okay.
if he's even would survive long on
Okay.
an expedition.
Yep. Feel free.
So yeah, just like an Arcana check.
Yep.
Okay. Do. Uh, ah, nat 1 plus 7, 8.
Lucky for you, you've traveled the world a lot.
Yep,
You've seen
read a lot of books.
when you were in the dwarven lands, you remember watching the slave trades there. In fact, you
Hmm.
remember a pretty big debacle that had to do with Rands and E2 freeing some slaves. Um,
Oh yeah, I remember that actually.
you remember the tieflings typically go for the very few that are ever sold, as they're a very extreme rarity. You'd guess roughly about 12 gold pieces for something so young, because of his, and he looks pretty, as you look him up and down, he's not fit, but he's not unhealthy, so you're guessing he's well, and he seems to be well educated, as he's pretty well taken care of. He's got his hands are well groomed. As you look over his nails, they're well taken care of. His hair is clean. He's got some smudges of dirt here and there, but nothing that catches your eye.
So 1200 or like 12
12 gold pieces,
gold
yep.
pieces? Oh, 12 gold pieces just for a normal
Hmm.
tiefling. Tifa kind of like, I guess, will look contemplative. Can I do like an insight just based on his behavior if he seems more feral or if he seems more like, I guess, human?
Hmm.
Like is he
Civilized.
raised, is he more like an animal or is he more like actual like manners,
Okay, yeah.
politeness?
Give me an insight check on him.
Yeah, cuz like temperament and stuff. That's better. That's a 17 this time.
As you look the kid up and down, um, give me a minute. I'm just pulling. You realize he is pretty well, holds himself pretty well. His stature is really well. Um, you remember when you were younger traveling through the Tiefling lands itself that a lot of younglings are forced into the army really early on, just as
Yeah.
natural how it is. So,
Mhm.
as you look him up and down, yeah, you'd guess that this kid is pretty well taken care of and probably led a pretty good life. You also do notice that his hands are very clean. There's no real markings on them as far as like no callus or anything. Although you do notice a couple of burn marks, so he's probably some sort of magic caster, is what you gain from his also
Mhm.
smaller muscles. Um, you also notice he's a variant tiefling. He has a natural
Mm.
hellfire about him as his body seems to naturally kind of glow and burn on occasion.
Yeah, Tickfa look contemplative. She's like, well, I don't know too much about slaves. I never thought about purchasing one before, but I know when I was in the Dwarven lands, a normal tiefling boy went for about 12 gold pieces, but considering, well, he seems variant, and although a mixed breed's less ideal, he's rarer, and he's a spellcaster, and he seems well taken care of. I assume you would charge a decent amount. I don't know what are your usual costs for spellcasters? Your usual rates. And she looks to him.
A man takes a second. He goes, mm, 35 gold for the kid. Since
35. I
you're the
was,
queen, naturally, I feel giving you a discount is the right thing to do.
of course, yeah, yes. I'll pay that then. Does he have a name? And does he speak Infernal?
Uh, man looks he says, he has whatever name you'd like to give him. And as you mentioned, Infernal, the kid's ears kind of start to perk up a little bit.
Good, good. Infernal's good, and yes, I didn't know if he had one for the sake of ease. Yes. She takes out 35 gold, and she gives it over
Okay.
to him.
And as you
For
look at
slave purchase. I.
and as you look at him, the kid kind of looks at you and starts speaking Infernal, which you realize the merchant doesn't seem to even recognize.
Oh,
And the
nice.
kid
What does he
goes,
say?
Allow me to introduce myself, my queen. My name is Burr."
Burr, my name is Tikva. You will not be a slave. You will be more of a servant, and should you do me good, I might even take you on more as a son. But I will need your assistance if you can stay well behaved on my ship. I will treat you with the respect you shall give me, and the dignity you shall show. My mercy is in the hands of you yourself.
He nods and goes, Thank you for the offer. I fully accept that, and I look forward to working with you. I spent my younger days studying under your father, unfortunately, before I was captured. But
Hmm.
I will serve you as valiantly as I can. I am a magic caster. I'm not much for getting punched or beaten personally, but this man is not very bright. Also, he doesn't speak infernal.
Yes, it's a shame for a tiefling to not speak it. May I inquire? You seem well educated. Are you truly what your appearance poses for your age?
He takes a second and kind of opens his mouth, kind of closes it, and goes, your father took an interest in me because of the fact that I am half genocide. My mother was a fire genocide. My father was a tiefling of no noteworthiness, a bodyguard that served amongst your father's retinue, nothing more than a common soldier. Very well educated, yes, as your father took an interest in my half-breededness. Took a lot of my blood. Um, Not a very nice man, I must admit. No offense, my queen.
Hmm. Well, my family was sadly more of the open and merciful of the tieflings, but
Yes, your cousin
the
was quite the sweetheart from when I met her a few times.
she was before she was corrupted by her mother. She was the sweetest. But with me in charge, I see to make some good changes, should I be able.
Well, I look forward to serving under you, my queen, and I will serve your house well. With any request, I do have one request, if I may. My sister, she is somewhere amongst these slaves, and a little older than me, but very well versed in education and a very good, how do you say, warrior. Apologies, my Infernal's still very terrible.
You are doing good. Focus more on the pronunciation of your consonants than your vowels. But where is she at?
I do not know, unfortunately. I know she is here as I can sense her. She and I have a very close relations, but if you see a tiefling, a female, about a few years older, and he looks at you and goes, and I do apologize as I'm not even accompanying my own age. She is very bulky, and he looks to Anton and looks at him first and goes, not his height, but stronger than this one.
And she nods, and she'll look to the, I don't even know, slaver, seller, bone guild guy, the tiefling who doesn't know Infernal, and she'll go, do you have in your possession a, perhaps another tiefling that is more well built? More of a warrior type.
Man kind of crosses his arms and goes, I may. If I remember correctly, we had a female tiefling of that sort. We sold her to another guild that was needing a good miner to work in the deep, dark mines of their territories. They only recently bought her. If you're looking for them, they came with sharded hoods and weren't the kindest of men, but if you're looking for them, they're somewhere around here. I would not know. And Ragnum just kind of looks at you and goes, nods his head, realizing what you're thinking, Tikva, as you realize Ragnum speaks Infernal, as he seemed to fully follow what you were saying.
Good, good. Yeah, she'll look to Ragnum and be like, would you know the whereabouts of these people?
He nods his head and smiles.
Wonderful. I'd love to go meet them and work out a deal. And thank you again, Ron, for this
Oh
wonderful
no,
exchange.
I apologize. No, my name is Ron.
Ah, Ron. Yes,
Yes.
my apologies for the name mix-up. Human names are really not my specialty.
But I am not human. I am also tiefling.
Is your name not of human origin, though? I
Well,
know the
yes, but
previous queen, Aaron, that was her name, and I know she was of human descent.
I'm not of human descent. I've been cared. He just kind of looks at you like it's. Have a great day as he turns and walks away.
She's not wrong. It's a human name.
Mm-hmm.
It's a human name. Yeah,
Imagine
she'll
a
just turn
fucker
to
being named Ron.
yeah, freaking Ron. Ron's gonna
God,
die.
weird ass human names.
Ah, does he have
That's
a
the way
bowl
the cookie
cut? Does he have a
crumbles.
bowl cut
He
and
does
like
not.
weird goat horns? I bet his horns aren't great.
His horns are
you
unpolished.
That's
you
just
actually do
innocence.
see that his horns have been kind of cut off the tip. There's no tips to them,
Yeah.
and they've been sanded.
Nah, yeah, ugly Ron horns. Disgraceful. No,
God,
she'll look.
I hate Ron.
Does he has he like gotten what was the, I already forgot it, beer? Has he gotten him out of his cage yet?
Yeah. Oh,
Or will he be...
the tiefling has been taken out. Burr has been fully He's still got the ropes and the water on him, or in water bowl around his hands to keep him tied up. But Ron hands you the key and kind of just walks away.
Yeah, Tikva will I guess if she has the key to let him out of the cage or to get the bowl off.
He's not out of the cage. He's not in a cage. He's
Yeah.
got like basically really strong looking iron ropes that are locked around his hands, and then
okay.
a thing of then he's got a thing of water over his hands to keep him from
Okay,
casting.
so it's a chained up situation. Yeah, then she'll unlock him, and as she does, she'll speak to why I almost said Ragnum, and then be like, yes, if we could meet those hooded figures fast before they depart, that'd be ideal.
Ragnum just nods and and starts walking that direction, not really ignoring anything. You also see Anton, go ahead, and Tikva, go ahead and give me perception checks.
Yeah, to Anton, I just bought a slave. I don't think he speaks Infernal.
No, but yeah.
No, he doesn't.
What's the
Perception check.
Boom.
Yeah. Finally.
The anime character is failing.
Yep.
He is the oblivious anime character.
I got a 13.
Okay. You see as you guys
Closer
start
than
to
that
you guys
one.
start to kind of walk away for a minute, and as you start walking, you see Ragnar kind of moving his hands slightly. Both of you know, well, even Anton notices as it's pretty obvious. Paying attention to this man, and Anton being kind of more on a bit more cautious here, I imagine, after the whole thing with
Mhm.
Cyrus being mentioned. Um, and you
Yeah.
see as you hear behind you a couple of footsteps, and you hear Ron yelling, and then just suddenly the sound of silence going almost deafening the area.
Silence spell, I can assume.
Well, with your perception, no, you do begin to hear, or before the silence hits, you do hear the unsheathing of metal.
When I
And they're shivving him.
no, am
It's a
I able
shanking.
to turn around and see like the source of like anyone like casting a spell?
As you
If this
start to
is
turn
silence.
as you start to turn around, Ragnum just kind of grabs you by the shoulder, just very lightly, and goes, "You don't want to see this," and continues walking.
Oh, never. So
Shank.
wait, Ron's getting shanked. I thought we were getting
Nope.
robbed.
Nope.
No. Oh,
Ron is
then
getting shivved.
Tikva, she keeps walking with almost a slight smirk on her face. She does not care. I thought we were getting robbed, and I was gonna counterspell silence. No, this is fine.
All right.
No, this asshole deserves to die.
No, he's part of the guild that killed me, and he has children as slaves. Tikva would very much think karma, whatever form it's taking, is taking its toll right here,
Meanwhile,
right
Freya is
now.
still just staring at a sword and then thinking, wait, if this is the boss's pile, I have a magic
Yeah,
hammer.
I'm just curious what Anton
Trades.
thinks of all of this.
All right.
Anton
He
doesn't care. His
yeah,
father did
doesn't really
worse.
bother him.
All right.
He was a slave once.
Cyrus did worse.
That's very true.
Cyrus the slave holder.
As you continue on heading towards the general direction that Ragnum was already kind of taking you a lot towards, you eventually make it to the center, or to what looks to be a larger market, where you see a lot more merchants very well dressed. These look to be it's mixed races, but it's what you'd expect noblemen to almost wear. These are very decently dressed people, speaking in common, almost every single one of them. And as you walk by, you also suddenly hear the language shifts to your native language, that each of you begin to hear. Immediately, Anton and Tikva, you both pick up that there's a magic spell being cast around here that's just basically comprehend languages. That's just kind of stuck to this area. So anybody in this area, no matter what language they're speaking, is going to understand the other as if it was their native tongue.
That's useful.
And one of them, Ragnum kind of brings you up to a stall, and you see these very hooded-looking, very large creatures of some sort of humanoid. You really can't tell. It seems that there's a natural darkness cast onto them. And Ragnum just kind of walks up and pokes the guy, one of the more masculine-looking ones, in the shoulder, and starts speaking in what you recognize, Tikva, as Infernal. And Anton, I believe your native tongue is just Common, correct?
Celestial.
Celestial.
But
So
yeah, common secondary. So yeah.
yeah, so you hear it begin speaking in Celestial, and as Ragnum just kind of looks the person up and down, and kind of grabs their hood and pulls them down, not gently in the slightest, as Burr is still following you guys, and starts whispering something. Neither of you really catch what he says, but you
Can see what
recognize.
race the figure is?
You can't tell. It could be, for what you're guessing, is either some sort of giant. It could be Goliath, or it could be just a very large human. It's with the cloak. It's so hard to tell because the figure is so shrouded. And the figure, as Ragnar pulls them down and starts arguing with them very in a whisper, you see him just suddenly sucker punch the person, knocking the person on their back, and kind of Ragnar climbs up to them, looks them dead in the eye, and just again starts to say, "Bring her to me now." And you can hear the whimper in this person's voice. You still can't tell if it's male or female, as the voice seems slightly disguised. And Ragnum gets off them as they kind of walk away. And they bring out
Ragnum kind of hot though.
They bring out this
Ragnum a
woman.
badass.
Oh,
Here.
If only I wasn't married.
Trent,
tugs on the collar a little.
Trent wishing Kips was there to hit on Ragnum now.
Ooh.
You suddenly hear off in the distance Freya. Freya, go ahead and give me a Constitution saving throw.
Okay. Okay, I can do this. 26.
All right, as you rip this fart in the entirety of your existence, it just goes off. You don't know what caused it. It didn't actually come from you, but it sounds like it did as it originates from you.
Not gonna care. Still distracted by the sword and
Yeah.
pulling up Sunforger, looking at Sunforger, looking at the sword.
Okay. As you, Tikva and Anton, as you're standing there, kind of watching as Ragnar just kind of walks back over, strutting with his heavier armor, he says, I'll be taking care of this. Don't worry. They're bringing her out. Her name is Galceris, by the way. She is not his sister, but apparently they were close. As Burr is currently quiet, just watching.
It is close enough. I still would like to meet her and negotiate, I guess, purchasing her from them.
Oh, you won't be purchasing. He's bringing out to give her to you. Do not worry.
Oh, thank you. Then you seem very persuasive back there, and she grins as she says this.
Of
very
course.
knowing.
Your one of my cousins served with your own cousin, as well as yourself at one point. I hear.
You two.
Yes.
Ah, yes. I miss her. I guess sometime after my death, before my revival, she disappeared, and I've not been able to contact her since. And there's like a genuineness to her tone.
After getting with the ancient elf Benzorwin.
Yeah, that was during Zaya's lifetime, I think, or something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so but you see there's like a genuine tone of like sadness when she says that. She was very kind.
He nods and says, "Yes, I owe you much. She's was an extraordinarily interesting and unique member of our clan. Although she hit her head at one point and forgot everything. And it's a long story.
Yeah.
Anyways, I hear she's unfortunately passed on at this point, from what I've been told. But I've also heard rumor of her showing up in random places. So one will never know with this woman. And as he says this, you see the giant person coming back out, and you can see blood kind of dripping from somewhere on their face as they bring out this woman who's very angry looking and has blood all over her hands. And she's about you'd picture, or when you look at her from she's wearing just basically a potato sack on her that's just barely covering everything. She's about 4 feet tall, not very tall, looks pretty young. You'd guess roughly a little younger than Zaya. And
okay.
She's
like
pretty
19,
built.
17.
Her shoulders are about roughly the size of Freya's, and Freya's a very well muscled person as well. You can tell this woman's done a lot of physical labor.
Yeah.
You also notice she's not a half breed. As you look her up and down, she's definitely, you do recognize her as coming from one of the more feral tribes of tieflings. As you've experienced kind of traveling the country, you know there are some tribes of tieflings that kind of stay out of the range of society, still believe in the old ways. And she just kind of comes walking out and just locks eyes with you, Tikva, and stares. This is
Tikva,
deadpan, like angry.
Tikva, when she stares, she just like calmly stares back. There's not like hostility, but there's definitely like a presence that Tikva's giving that's like, we can both mutually respect each other, but like I'm not gonna be intimidated by your muscle. And as she gestures, she doesn't gesture. She looks to Burr and she's like, in Infernal, but I guess to everyone it sounds different. She's like, "This is your sister."
He nods and begins speaking, and what you realize is here, one second, let me pull the language. Tongue, you've never heard, you recognize you can understand what they're saying, but you've never heard this tongue before.
Oh, okay.
And he
like
Burr kind of looks, Burr kind of walks up to her and looks at her and says, all right, calm down. If she wanted to eat us, she would have. and you just hear grunts coming from Galceris. You don't, and there's no translation. You're not 100% sure she's even speaking words. She's just grunting. And
so she, oh boy.
Burr kind of nods and says, and looks to both of you and goes, "She says her tongue was cut out. Apparently, she beat one of the guards to death with the pickaxe I gave her, and then managed to pluck his eyes out with her toes. My sister's not the kindliest of folk, as you can imagine."
No, it's understandable given her situation. DM, do I know of any potential, probably higher level spells that could restore
just a
such
cure
a
wounds would
body part?
work.
Cure wounds. She like looks contemplative, and is like, my cleric might be able to aid you in getting that tongue back. I could attempt myself, but I'm not as magically based. Healing magic anyway. Other magic, of course.
Burr
Balthor in the
nods.
distance. Healing hands could work.
Shut up.
I'm not
Burr nods and
paladin.
goes, "Yes, Galcer, she does know a bit of magic herself. She studied under some of the local rangers of our clan. She actually does know cure wounds, but her spell isn't of high enough quality. She also has a
Well,
beast somewhere near here, but unfortunately we haven't been able to find it. Last time we
well,
saw it was at our village."
there's a ranger in our party who he himself has a Drake companion. He might be able to help locate. DM, would I know what level the cure wounds would have to be to?
After looking her over, you'd guess that it was pretty much cut cleanly and probably burned, so that way it wouldn't bleed out, and she wouldn't, like, in a sense, swallow her tongue. So you'd roughly guess that it would be probably of at least 3rd level or higher.
Third level. Okay. Then Tikva like looks, I guess, contemplative. Almost a bit hesitant. Cause God, I really want to preserve resources. But she then uh gestures a hand for like how do you pronounce her name again?
Here, I'll just send you the sheet so you have it. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah, if I have the name.
Galceris.
Galceris. She gestures for like Galceris to approach her, and is like offering a handout.
Okay.
And it emits a soft glow as she does so.
All right. As you do so, you suddenly see woman kind of looks at you and kind of weird. Her horns are very predominant. In fact, you'd actually say her horns are longer than yours, and they're a very strange, almost bloodish red color, as they seem to go straight up and then curl down in front of her, kind of like an ant's antennas. And Burr looks at you and goes, back in our village, she was known as the Bull, as you can probably guess why. She managed to use those horns to stab one of her pets until it bonded with her. A black dragon wormling, which was unfortunately, last I saw, back in our homeland.
Well, as long as she doesn't stab me with those horns, I'll be able to aid her in getting her tongue back, hopefully. And then she again will make like a small gesture with her hand.
Galceris kind of puts her hand out, and her hands are butchered. You can see there are cuts, cracks. The hands are very calloused. Her nails, 2 of them have been torn out completely. The rest seem to be filed to a spike.
Yeah, I assume I won't need to directly touch her tongue for this.
No.
Will I?
No.
Okay, no, yeah, then I'll touch her hand, but focus the energy on her tongue, and I'll cast a 4th level cure wounds.
As the tongue comes back, you notice she looks a little healthier and looks at you and goes, "Well."
Oh, I didn't roll that.
No, you don't have to worry about rolling.
I want to.
She's only got 12
28.
HP. Yeah, you're good. You succeed.
28.
You do more than
Her
double her
hit
HP.
point maximum increases.
Yep.
No.
She looks suddenly. She looks a little surprised and goes, "Oi, well, that's what you get for a queen. All right. Allow me to introduce myself proper. I'm Galceris, and the tongue I was speaking is Sahuagin. It's a foreign tongue only known to most of us feral tieflings. Thank you for assisting me. The men here were very dull and thought themselves to be respectable for me. One of them even proposed marriage. Unfortunately, he no longer can marry. If you will, as she holds out her bonded hands that are kind of in a iron.
Yeah, is okay. there's no. I wasn't given a key, was I?
Nope.
No, I'm just gonna look for something to see what I have that.
She
Wait,
looks
is
at
the
you and
guy
goes,
still crouched there cowering?
No. If I'm waiting for permission, if you would not mind.
Oh, of course. Please do.
And she immediately rolls terribly and fails to break them as she continues to struggle at failing twice. She finally looks at it, and Burr just kind of snaps his fingers as the chain melts off. And he just starts laughing.
Virgo.
And you see Ragnar just kind of trying not to chuckle at this whole situation, and goes,
Touch glowing sword.
if you will, I will have them escorted to your ship to await you.
Of course, if you could, I'm not sure what we'll have in the ship after the raid on the castle in the Nordlands, but if there's clothing that will fit them, that's of better quality, please. And she looks at them directly. Please, feel free to get changed. There might be some training weapons, spare weapons around if you'd like to equip yourselves and get familiar. The rooms, if you enter them, they are their own
Personal.
little pocket dimension. They will suit themselves to your needs. I believe you can allow others into your room should you choose to room together. That is all up to you. Just if you could get acquainted.
They both nod, and you see Ragnum snap his finger as the very large hooded man kind of starts escorting them. And Ragnum looks to both of you and goes, "Don't worry. If he's dumb enough to try something, he won't make it out of this place. He knows that well."
After seeing their capabilities, I have good faith. They can handle themselves well to the ship.
Yes, and I believe so. You've chosen well, young queen, for good slaves, or freed members of your new crew.
Of
Ah,
course.
I will also mention that, and he kind of smiles at you and Anton. If you're ever interested in contacting your old friend Malthor, I have a direct connection to him. As he kind of winks at you.
A
Malthor.
paladin Normac! My
Is he?
boy!
Oh my god. Do you see Tifa perk up? She's like, oh, yes, he was just taken from us after we freed him.
Yes, I spoke to my own god. I am a paladin of Normax. My background is a bit more, how do you say, rougher than most of my co-paladins. But it does not matter, as the fact goes. If you would wish to ever speak to him, I'm happy to assist in that.
Yes, I should meet the others and make sure they're doing well here. But before we set out, I would definitely like to make sure he's okay. He's had it rough recently, and I fear for his mental stability a bit.
Do not worry. Our own god has taken care of him. Our god even offered me the sword, and when I contacted you and spoke to you to make sure that the message was given, as he pulls out a very large two-handed sword out of a bag of holding. That he just happens to have a second one sitting on his belt, and goes, "This is the sword called Black Razor." And you feel a lot of magic coming off this thing. This is a very strong sword from the making of it. It's, in fact, Anton recognizes this, having gotten enough history lessons from his own father. This thing devours souls, and it's well known throughout history.
I was gonna say, Anton probably knows it by name.
This is a scary sword, and this is not something you typically. Yeah, this isn't something you usually give to a paladin, let alone a paladin of a lesser god, because this is an inherently evil weapon. But as Ragnar kind of puts it back into his bag of holding, and goes, I was taking you to the magic shop. I apologize for this detour.
You are good. It is good to see the sights here.
I'm happy to hear that. And of course, if at any point you would like me to fetch your allies, I'm more than happy to drag them here. Or if there's anything you need, do not hesitate to ask me as we continue our journey.
Of course. I believe Kips is doing his doctorly business, and Freya's a bit skittish, and I don't like her being alone too long. But it's good for her to get acclimated back to being more in control.
Oh,
Than her previous situation.
do not worry, young queen. I have your friend Freya is being well watched over, so that no one bothers her.
Wonderful. Then
Stares
yes,
at the sword,
the
stares at the
magic shop,
hammer.
Anton, and she looks to him, finally addressing him after this bit. I forgot to ask, is there anything you would need? I assume the magic shop is also of interest to you.
Yes. Probably one of those types of bags there would be handy
Oh,
for
here.
Yeah, or is
things.
there a
As he
magic
pulls out,
circle?
he
He's
pulls
good
one
with
off his
those.
back and he says, "Here," and he just hands it to Anton, another bag of holding.
Oh,
Oh,
how
thank you.
many of those do you have exactly?
I managed to capture a while back a ship of the Asimar of these lands. As you're probably familiar, at least enough that this world is a little different than our own. These Asimar are not nearly as nice. I managed to take one of their ships, an iron beast of sorts, and after killing the crew, took most of their items, and they had a whole hoard of
Hmm.
bags of holding full of random garbage, stuff you'd expect. We even had something of a scroll that had some strange writing on it that I did not recognize, but apparently it was supposed to be used in a ritual. Must have angered someone.
Hmm.
My bounty is almost 20 million gold pieces at this point.
Ha. Well, if you had another one of those bags to spare, I would also be of interest.
He snaps his fingers, and you see some random person, some random giant Goliath walk out a full plate. This man is decorated and almost glowing, and he just whispers something, and suddenly the man disappears and says, "Before you leave."
All right,
You said
that's
Freya would probably.
wonderful.
We should probably outfit the entire group with a bag of holding. Let's be honest.
You said that these bags had things in. I assume you've cleared this
Yes.
one out.
I
Okay.
removed it just because of the fact that I was concerned that they would have anything that could track it. And you can
Makes
imagine, as
sense.
a
Right.
pirate, it's not good to be followed.
No.
Dumped
No.
it in the sea.
Hjonkerson here, he's very powerful and really doesn't care for any issues. The last man who gave him a problem, he cut down. But yes, if I may ask, are there any specific items that either of you are looking for at this point? Armor, magic,
Hmm.
artifacts?
Well, I'm simply here to browse, but I have recently come across myself, due to a sort of blessing in the Nordlands, a summonable unicorn mount. But I'm afraid the beast, although it recovers, has been getting targeted in battle. When I ride it, is there armor that could fit a summonable creature like that, or something to protect it better?
Unfortunately, unicorns are very pure beings. You're not likely to find anything around these parts that would be of its liking. um,
Hmm.
However, if you're interested in a new mount, we have dragons for sale. We have golems.
Dragons.
Yes, a few dragon wormlings. The older they get, the more intelligent they get, and the meaner they get. Um, One of our
Nice.
captains, ironically named Capern, I don't know who names these genocide. They have the strangest of names. Managed to capture a horde of dragon eggs before the mother sank his ship and killed most of his crew. But he got away with a teleportation
Uh,
spell. Lucky
yes.
bastard.
How hard are they to incubate? I had a dragon egg. I was attempting to before it got stolen from me.
To incubate, not hard at all if you have a decent enough way of keeping them warm. Um,
Mm,
I mean, I definitely recommend having an orb of dragon kind. They're very useful to help with dragons, in my
hmm.
experience. However, I will warn that while getting one of these items, it is a cursed item and very expensive, in the millions of gold, if you
Hmm.
will. And even I don't pull that kind of rank here.
No, no, definitely not. Well, then I suppose I'll just look into mounts there, or just the items. Again, I haven't had time to really research into anything specific. With all going on, I've been more focused on I guess staying alive, and our goal, and of course everything else that comes with a kingdom. Although I have been away from it for a bit now.
Oh, no need to worry. Your kingdom is perfectly fine at this point, I imagine. Allow me, if I may. And he looks about. I believe we actually have something that may interest you two. There is a battle standard of the old Tiefling Empire of way back during a previous king's rule. And he thinks for a second. I believe I have a book here somewhere. He starts flipping through his bag of holding and goes, I think I made one. Let me see if I find Tiefling. Yes, it was a name you might be familiar. Kyrexi the Bloodwing of your house, I believe.
Do I recognize that name?
You've never heard this name? Well, actually, give me a history check.
All right, all right, all right. Let's see. History. Let's go.
I assume.
3. That one.
Ah.
Should have rolled digitally.
Give me a minute. I'm just pulling up some information. Uh,
The nat ones,
At this
they
moment,
really...
you do not remember anything about Tiefling history, just that it happened.
yeah.
Due to the fact that my relationship with my family was not always the best, I just forgot the names.
You know, you recognize the name. It's a pretty famous name amongst history. Anybody who knows anything basics about tieflings would recognize this. You don't remember much else other than that the person's famous, and it's a really old name, and no one else has taken that name.
I do recognize this name, although I have to admit, with the studies, my family, despite them being part of it, have not told me much extra about this person.
Well, remind me to pick you two up a history book before we leave. Jonkerson loves his history, weirdly enough. Bloodwing, she's a famous queen, known for many a things, such as killing, slaughtering, and traditionally beating pretty much anybody that got in her way.
To death with a rock.
But she's not well loved amongst the clans, the name, but she was known for her tyrannical deeds. I also believe that she is one of the reason for one of your holidays, but I forget off the memory which one.
The Blood Feud
Bloodwing
Day.
Festival Day. No.
Bloodwing's Feud. Got it.
I actually do have holidays written down for this
Christmas.
species.
Give your enemies the gift of death.
I believe it was
today.
I believe it's Chaos Eve is the name
Chaos
of the yes, on the first of the first moon, and was created in the year 7000 BS. Anyways, so he looks and he goes, yes, we have some of the old dwarven drink to go along with the banner if you're interested. Some ska, which you would know as Scotch, from the human land or from the dwarven lands. It's an infernal banner if you're so much as interested. You can hang it from the Gall Slayer if you so wish.
Oh, I think it'd be fitting. I don't see reason not to.
And he starts dragging you to a small store. And as you come along, this is a very tiny, what looks to be well-made store of stone. Actually, that is something I'm working on currently, Kips. That is going to be added into the world, into a kingdom, because of that.
Dream Daddy.
And so as he continues dragging you in, this is a store instead of made out of wood like the rest that are kind of, while decently upkept, many of them are kind of made of driftwood or wood from past boats, kind of scavenged. In this case, this store looks to have been actually carved out of the stone in the cave. And as you walk in, you sense that magic's all around you, and there are items you've only heard legends of, with price tags to match. The cheapest item you find is almost 7 million gold pieces. And Ragnar just kind of brings you lot in and says, "Feel free, have a look around. Anything you can't find on the shelves, the good Captain Caperm will probably have somewhere around here. And he's probably I will go get him as he kind of leaves you two to look
Thank
around."
you. Yeah, I'll browse, but I have high doubts I'm gonna be purchasing anything.
I
Yeah,
want it all.
use these
Buy
things
it
like
all in like
stuff from as simple as the belt of the giant strength to a sword that's named as the blade of the High King that looks to give off extremely high magic.
Dwarves.
Yeah, it's not dwarven made. It looks to be almost elvish.
Hmm.
But you find items of all sorts of rare, everything from what you'd consider a higher rarity to artifact leveled items.
Okay.
And you can sense there's even more in the back. Uh,
Do they have a ball of lint?
you're not there, but if
Do
either
they have
Tikva
a
or
ball
Anton
of
are
lint?
gonna look for it, they can.
Look for
Please,
what?
A
for
ball of lint.
a ball of lint.
No, I don't think I don't know fully what that does, but I don't think Tick would be looking for it.
You gotta look for a ball of lint for me.
Kips knows what he's doing later in the day. As you guys continue looking about, Anton, is there anything you're looking for in particular? Or
Yes,
general?
actually, he is looking for various belts of giant strength because they come in. He knows they come in various
I gotta
strengths.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
From hill all the way up to storm.
I gotta look through the freaking magic item list. I don't have anything memorized.
That's fair.
We
I
need an
can.
instant fortress.
That's that's very true.
With how much bullshit we constantly get into, we need an instant fortress at this point in time.
I sent you the drink link to the various levels.
Yep, I'm familiar. Yes. So, as you're kind of looking about, kind of walking around, you see as Caperm comes out, and you see what is basically this very scrawny, very sick, and very tired-looking young. You'd guess maybe no older than roughly 19 years in human years. And he looks extremely young for a pirate captain, coming out well dressed in a full blue uniform with medals decorating it. He's head to toe and covered in magic items, and you don't see Ragnar walking anymore at this point. He seems to still be in the back, and you can hear someone digging around. And Cat Permkish comes out and goes, yes, may I help you?" And you notice he has kind of a slightly bloodied nose.
Jesus.
I was informed I was to help you and give you a decent deal.
Yes, I'm looking to possibly purchase not quite certain which level, depending on price, but a belt of giant strength because I know they come in various
I have
magical capabilities.
He pulls out a book and starts kind of swapping through it. I have a belt of hill giant strength for 2,100 gold pieces. Frost giants for 23,000. Stone for 24. Fire for 25,000. Cloud for 27, and storm for 40,000.
How much did you say the hill?
Hill would
One
be
was?
only about 21,000 coin or 2,100 coins.
I will show him my gauntlets of ogre power, which are only uncommon, I think. Yeah. What would you take for these in trade?
Ogre power. I'll give you 1,900 gold for it.
That will work. I will trade these for a hill giant.
All right, and he goes and kind of walks behind the counter and sets this giant thing or this leather belt down that has the face of what looks to be a very angry hill giant. And goes, "I
Mhm.
will warn, these were taken off of the naked body of a dead hill giant. I cannot promise that there will not be vengeance seeked, And he hands you a piece of paper with a receipt written down on it, and down below, as you look at it, it says, "If at any
No
time
returns.
vengeance is seeked after you, no refunds are given."
No returns, refunds, or exchanges.
Yep. So go ahead and add a belt of hill giant strength.
That doesn't
Okay.
stop me from suing them, though.
Yeah, and Tikva, because Anton is actually fairly muscular because he currently has a 19 in strength, but you notice when he actually removes the gauntlets of ogre power, and like officially hands them across, he like drops back down to like
Ha, nerd
more like
size.
more like Anton's build.
Yes.
You mean Cyrus's?
Or yeah, Cyrus's build, yeah.
Ha.
I figured you for the scrawny type. As he sneezes and blood comes shooting out and hitting the floor. Is there anything else I can do for you two before I return to my nap? As I was having.
Give me a second, and then I'll respond.
Okay.
No, that is everything I think that I need. Thank you.
Yes. And he kind of goes back behind his desk and starts looking, pilfering through things. While Tikva looks, we're gonna come back in a moment. Freya, as you're kind of standing there, give me a perception check.
Okay, perception. Here we go, perceiving things again. That is 23.
All right, with a 23.
My dice is doing happy today.
You do notice that there are people kind of watching you, but they don't seem to have any animosity towards you. They just seem to be kind of eyeing you with curiosity more than anything.
I'm gonna
And
poke
seem to
the sword
also
with a single finger.
nothing happens.
Mm.
And none of the people move. They just seem to kind of be watching you and then watching the area around you, making sure. It seems like they're watching to make sure you're not bothered.
I'm gonna pull the sword out. Slowly and gently. And set Sunforger on the pile.
As you do so, you hear behind you some heavy metal moving. And then you feel something grabbing your shoulder before you get a chance to turn around. And you see Hyonk staring at you, just kind of eyeing what you're doing.
I'm just examining the blade. I don't make any motion to sheath it on myself, on my person or anything. I'm just looking at it.
You're interested? He looks at you, he says, "You're interested?"
I nod, and I point at Sunforger, going very nonverbal because Freya is now very intimidated by a goose head being that close to her.
He smiles at you and kind of turns you without any chance, with almost a 27 in strength, and just kind of looks you dead in the eyes and goes, and nods. And then as you feel his hand moving away from your shoulder, you feel one of your scales rip off. And he looks at you and smiles and says, well, smiles as much as a goose can. And nods and turns and walks away. You lose Sunforger and you've gained Northrend.
Okay, removing Sunforger, heading Northrend. I also guessing I took some damage from losing a scale.
You lost 1 point of health. Permanently.
Oh god. That's gonna be fun to deal with. I'll go edit that later.
Mm-hmm. And as he kind of walks away, you notice his goose tail is now poking out of his armor.
I will stifle a laugh.
Luckily for
goose tail
you, he
poking
has
out.
a perception of 4. And as he kind of continues off, yes, Kips.
The only man that can beat Snicknish in hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah. Actually, well, Tendon probably could, but
I mean, we'll see.
As he walks away, you hear him say off in the from the distance. Freya says, "Don't touch anything else," and you hear a loud honk as he walks into his room.
Yonk. No, it's yonk.
No, you heard him right. He only honks at those he likes. He doesn't know Freya.
Yonk me, daddy.
No. All right.
Okay, I will walk away with Northrend sword whip in hand.
With me. Ooh.
And as you start to walk away, you see two men kind of walk up to you with what looks like a red rag draped over two skeleton bones on their chest. And these are both what look to be gnomes. And they just kind of step in front of you, and one after another begin to speak almost in unison and go, "Please follow us, young man."
Kinky.
Not a man.
And they turn and they start walking.
I don't trust this. I look to make sure.
They're not armed, from what you can see. Yeah,
Keeping
basically that.
Northrend at the ready.
Okay. As you continue following them, after a few minutes, you eventually find you see two tieflings kind of walking past you, heading down the ship rows. One a little larger, looking very masculine for what you can smell as a female, and a bit more feral, while the other is a little more smaller, but with strange markings all over his body. The two gnomes don't even acknowledge him as they continue walking. And about after a little while, you find yourself standing outside of a very nice looking shop carved into the cave. And inside you can see Tikva and Anton kind of perusing a bunch of what you don't even have to roll for is a lot of magical items.
I'm broke, so I'm not trading out more HP, so
That's fair.
I will just wait outside.
Okay. Alright, Tikva. Did you
Yep.
find or did you figure out what you're looking for?
And
Tikva will.
I will start the attuning
What was
process.
his name again?
Caperm.
Caperm. He looks to Caperm and he's like, "Would you have any Mizium armor or Ioun stones here?"
If I don't have it, it don't exist, as he looks at you. Mizium armor, as he starts flipping through his catalog again. That's Elven, that's Heward's, that's Hyde, that's Hunter, that's some sort of mithril. Mizium, you want it in a breastplate, I assume?
Yes, preferably something medium build or lighter if you would have it, but it is heavy.
It's a breastplate. It's gonna be heavy.
Well, yes, that'll work.
And he kind of looks at you and goes, "All right, let's say 1,000 gold pieces for it."
I will take it.
And it's a plate, so enjoy.
Breastplate.
Breastplate.
Yeah,
As he pulls it out, you realize he probably can't tell the difference. This is a breastplate almost perfectly. So yep, go ahead and add Mizium breastplate armor to your inventory.
Nice.
And take away 1,000 gold.
Armor.
Yes. All right. Anything else?
I think.
Good. And he turns and walks off before you finish.
Tickle like raises a brow, but shrugs it off.
And as you see him walk back, you see suddenly as the door kind of opens into the back room, you see Ragnum's hand grab Kepper and pull and throw him out of his way as Ragnum just walks out the door. Yes. Yes. If we're done shopping, allow me to take you back. It seems my two cohort have managed to bring your friend, as he looks out the door at Freya. I will escort you back to your ship for the time being. I do not recommend sticking around here much longer, as it is now the drinking hour for most of the men here, and that means that there's gonna be someone getting shot tonight. And honestly, I don't think we need to hear that.
No, preferably not to know.
Freya is also holding a longsword.
Nope.
Instead of a hammer now.
Did you do your own shopping then?
In a way,
you
do notice there's an obvious scale missing on her shoulder.
Yeah, Freya's got a little bit of blood leaking down her shoulder.
Sort of. You say? Could you elaborate? You didn't fight anyone.
No, didn't fight. Hammer wasn't what I'm used to using, so I saw this in that big pile and a scale for it.
Well, as long as you didn't break the rules, Admiral Hyunk gave us, it is your business, not mine.
You gotta find that.
Ragnum just kind of nods. And goes, all right, if you will. I will escort you lot back to your ship for the night. Your friend Kips has chosen to stay aboard my ship for the rest of the remaining. I will have him escorted once he is done with his ritual casting that he has chosen to
Of
do.
course.
And as he
He
starts,
may.
Hmm?
I was just gonna say he may also want to stop by the shop at some point.
I will
You
have
can
him
check
brought
with him.
here if you would
Yeah.
like. And he nods and goes, and also, good Anton, please tell your father that he is always welcome back to my shop anytime he'd like. As he starts walking back in the direction of the Gaul Slayer.
Okay.
I
Mm,
will.
Maybe I should have gone in and seen if they
mysterious.
had something better than the regular plate.
As you guys continue walking by, after a little bit, you pass by Ragnum's ship, where you can see Kips is kind of sitting there calmly meditating, as you can see a bright circle around him being lighting up. And only a few steps away, you also see the corpse of a very unfortunate-looking tiefling with sanded-off horns, and wearing bone armor with a lot of knife marks in his chest.
Freya looks at it, and Freya's gonna poke at it with with North Run. Just
Nothing happens. The body just kind of squishes, and a little bit
can
of
I kick
blood
it?
comes
I
out.
look at I look at our escort and be like, I want to kick it in the water.
No, please don't poison our water.
Yes,
Not-
yeah, just leave it be.
As he continues escorting you guys back to your ship, and as you guys finally get there, you see our ship has been fully supplied with food, drinking water, and a fresh set of a rope, as well as some cheap iron. And Ragnum nods and says, if you need anything else, please feel free to cast ascending for me or one of my men. I would recommend staying on your ship for the night. No one here will bother you on your ship by order of Hjonkerson.
Yes, I think I'm all set. Thank you so much for your hospitality and aid.
He goes to he puts out his hand to shake your hand, awaiting it.
Yeah, Tikva will shake it.
Okay, quick one thing. Let me just check.
Make a Constitution saving throw.
All right. As he does so, please
Oh.
give me a perception check, Tikva.
I don't like that. That's a high number.
That's what happens when you're
He has
attuned to Black
slipped you a
Razor.
love letter.
All right. Tikva went mute. Give him a sec.
Oh, I was so close to a 19, but no, it's a 9 because I got a 3 plus 6.
Okay.
I should have.
Luckily, you do notice
he is a pirate.
as he walks away. And as you notice, he hands you a paper during the handshake and walks off.
Oh, I thought he took something.
Nope. And as
Just a portion of your soul.
Yeah, as he walks away, his two gnomish men that very much like almost clones of each other follow him back to his ship.
Freya looks at them very uncomfortably, like.
You get a sense of something strange going, Freya. Just a natural animal instinct from these two.
No, cease.
All right, and as you guys,
I'm getting right on the ship, and then going to start the attunement process to Northrun.
Well, Freya, as you walk onto the ship, you see you see the two tieflings you saw earlier just sitting there, dressed in what looks to be commoner's clothing, and both of them seem to be holding different items. One who is holding basically just a staff and wearing some simple robes, while the other is carrying a bow and a short sword.
Freya just nods at them, sits in a corner away from everybody, and starts attuning to Northrun. She knows it's magic.
All right, it's going to take you the entire night to do that, but that works.
That's fine. Then I don't have to really come back to, because
Okay.
only thing she can do then is talk about people.
All right, and so as you guys all begin to set in, I will start top because Kips is going to be away for the while. He's going to be stuck the night working on his ritual spell. Anton, is there anything you want to do in the night or no?
Yeah, once he gets back and kind of situated again, he's gonna ritual cast Identify on the belt just to attempt to see if there's anything more than the normal enchantment.
All right, casting Identify. All right, yeah. As you take a look at, Nope, it seems normal. You do notice
Okay.
that with the identify, you do see for a second a hill giant that was stabbed or shanked to death a few hundred times, but otherwise, yeah, no,
Okay.
nothing
The
else.
shivings.
Yeah, then he will go ahead and start the attunement process for that.
Okay. And then Tikva.
Well, I'd like to obviously put on the new museum armor,
Mm-hmm.
and it. What's everyone's like party like? What's everyone's in the party's like armor looking like so far?
Most of them
I'm
look to be in
probably
simple armor.
yeah.
Yeah, I've
You're
got.
not many of us are actually in magical.
So would anyone have good use of a medium +1 breastplate?
Nope. I can only wear light, but my
Only
my
light.
tattoo
I
is
assume
giving me armor.
Kip's in here. Well, Freya's gone, but
Mm-hmm.
would Freya have use of a medium, or should she
Medium
like?
armor. She can use medium armor. It's just
But
a
would you
matter
like
of.
try to go back to the shop in the morning and probably get something heavy?
I'd probably want to go back to the shop in the morning and see if I
Yeah.
can trade this gold plate that's worth at least 750 for something a bit better.
Yeah. Okay.
I have nothing else to trade.
Yeah.
So
Then
Mm-hmm.
in that case, Tikva will look for the two tieflings she's purchased Bib and Galsera.
Yeah,
purchased
they're
and stolen.
both are just sitting there, kind of talking to each other, making jokes. They seem to be well equipped now. You also notice that Galceris is she's sitting there with her what looks to be a very small looking creature that looks to be very dark in color. And as you get closer, you realize it's a black dragon wormling,
Fun.
and it's like the size of a cat.
Nice. Tikva will look at her and be like, you can handle medium armor, can't you?
She looks at you and goes, um, yeah, I can wear medium armor. I'm more than happy to wear it. It's a little bit, probably a bit better than the scale mail I found lying around.
Yes, much better. And Tikva will present the probably well crafted, maybe in a little decorative +1 breastplate, and be like, it's magically enhanced to boost your defense. I figure, should you join us in our travels, even if you don't leave the ship, there's a chance you might get attacked. So I prefer you to wear it. And no offense, she'll look to to Burr. I didn't think medium armor was quite your type.
Ah, well, I wear what I can, to be honest, and it's whatever is available. But I'll happily take it, and use what I can.
Of course. And she'll give the +1 breastplate over.
All right. She immediately strips, not even thinking about it, and takes off the scale mail, the cloth that was attached to it, fully naked now, and just tosses the breastplate on, not even bothered.
Well,
And Freya is embarrassed seeing this scene unfold before her, but
it
keeps
breaks your
attuning.
concentration. Tikva will like pause. She's a bit surprised, but be like, I assume everything else is all right. You're all settled in.
Oh. And Burr kind of stops, puts a hand on her shoulder, and goes, and Burr looks at you up and down, and goes, you do realize, my queen, that Ragnum fellow has a thing for you, correct?
Does he?
Yes, that's...
and her tail swishes, and she gives a bit of a smile and is like, oh, well, that can always be handled in the morning.
Well, if you would like us to summon him, feel free to let us know. I imagine my sister's always happy to go and grab a man for you. And you can see Galceris is trying really hard not to laugh right now.
Wait a minute, you now have a dedicated goal fetcher.
I have a feeling Ragnar can more than take on Gaul. But
That's
she
fair.
It'd be a pretty good fight to watch, but it'd be Thumbs versus Changeling that can punch people's face in and make them whimper. I think Ragnar would become Gull's new Dom.
Listen, it's don't tieflings practice polygamy or
Yeah.
something in the marriage? Yeah.
Well, and
there's
being
no
a
issue.
queen, you can also take on consorts yourself.
Yeah, I could. So Tikva she just nods and be like, well, I'm sure I'll be making well use of your guys' skills going forward. You have been able to access the rooms, correct?
They both nod, and that's why you realize that's why they're so well dressed. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, ignore that. There we go.
Nope.
I thought something rolled. But yeah, nope.
Yeah, she'll nod and be like, then I'll leave you both to it. If you need me, well, I'll be in my quarters. I'm not sure if you could access it, but Anton can cast sending to me if I do not leave it when you need me.
Burr kind of smiles and nods and says, "My queen, so can I."
You have it as well. Wonderful. Then feel
Yes.
free to contact me.
I will be more than happy to do if need be. I am very well skilled in the magical arts.
If you don't mind, before we leave tomorrow, but of course I want to give you time to rest tonight, I'd love to see what you are capable of without, of course, expending your energy. We will be traveling into
He
dangerous
just
place tomorrow.
he just smiles and hands you a book, and you see his full spell list.
Hmm. Nice, nice. She actually let me just look at it myself because I have the character sheet.
Yep,
Let me view the spells. Tikva's curious. She's no wizard, but in a
it's nothing.
past
It's
life.
nothing special. It's only up to first level magic that he knows.
Yeah. No, he'll she looks it over and she nods, and she's like, well, you definitely have a good repertoire of spells. I'm excited to see you get more powerful going forward, and should you need help with the arcane, Anton or myself will be more than willing to help you, I'm sure. Although he's wizard, so he would know more about probably what you're looking for. And
Burr
she'll hand the book back.
Burr looks at you and says, "Ah, were you?" He smiles first and says, "Were you trained by your father's wizard, Jim? I learned this magical missile technique that shoots out green flame with it."
Was it Jim that trained her?
Nope.
No, she shakes her head. Sadly, no. I had a different tutor that short while. Of course, obviously, being wizard didn't work out too well, but I think I have heard of him.
Well, he taught me this great magic missile spell that allows allergenic, gluten-free twisting and whistling missiles. It's quite come in handy quite often.
GMO free, gluten free, you say? Sounds quite curious.
He just nods and goes back to speaking with Galceris and
Yeah.
Saudenheim or Sahungen. Yeah, Sahungen. All right. And as you guys begin the night, things quiet down. You hear on the occasion a musket shooting off, someone screaming, a lot of fighting, drinking, yelling, nothing new. And as the night carries on, ah, as Tikva retreats to her room, um, and Anton and Freya begin attuning to their items, as well as Kips continues casting his spell, not being distracted by the men scarfing down Lemon's hole. That is where we'll end today's session. Thank you
Yeah.
all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and we will see you next week, hopefully.